uncertainty. And we walk in this barren world for reasons unknown. The mind is tight and senses. Measuring time is useless. The impediment is life on earth is an illusion. This life on earth is an illusion. Take the race for the future. Is that what the past? Is that what the way works out and the way gets under the mask? They force us to win. Under the walls that protect us from ourselves. It feels like we are hiding in a secret where we can't belong. It feels like we already cannot be grasped by reaching. You cannot be saved by looking. It's within you. Live as sadness, dance of that curse to me. All point in the same way. Disarm me of the anonymous. Prepare me for the anonymous. Our existence left behind the cane and chained by the year. Under the mask, they force us to win. Under the walls that protect us from ourselves. It feels like we are hiding in a secret where we can't belong. It feels like we already come. And I'm fixated on me. I hear it's calling out to me. This rabbit face shades is poised to red. I suppose there's nothing left but empty minds. Empires will fall until there's nothing left. See them roaming around to the end of time. Under the mask they force us to wear. Under the laws that protect us from ourselves. It feels like we are hiding our heads now from the world. Seems like it's all that we know. Under the mask they force us to win. Under the laws that protect us from ourselves. It feels like we are hiding in a secret where we can't belong. It feels like we're already gone. You're the one in every heart, you're the channel out. The girl sound effects speak just too loud. Their spike represents creates storm cloud.
Hello, everybody. Sure, the music's down to listen a little bit here. Turn that down just a tad. Welcome, everybody, to Spline Design Studios Saturday. Your host, J-Rock. Speaking of getting some things loaded up here, been working on quite a bit here today. Glad to have everybody show up here. We're gonna I'll hold up on this here a little bit here. Let's see here. Bear with me, folks. Stumbling on myself here. Gotta turn this back a little. Got a little bit through the drop frames. Alright, let me go ahead and just shut that right off for now. Starting sequence there. Glad to have everybody here. Okay. I want to get right into this here because we got a lot going on. A lot to do today, I guess, as far as some new objects that we need to apply. I've done a little bit of work with the track build that we've been working on throughout this entire series for our scratch track mill of the Charlotte Roval. And okay, just getting things here. Let me go ahead and bring this right over. I want to try not to waste too much time because, like I said, we got lots of things to go over. Pardon me. I need to be throw it right into the mic there. Okay, so hope everyone's having a good Saturday and get the pleasantries and the salutations and greetings out of the. Hope everybody's living well today. I know it started to warm up here a little bit, so that's a good sign. Okay, so one of the things out of many that we've got going on here, first off, what I'll go over is to kind of show briefly, I guess, what I have done with the week off. Okay, hopefully I don't get more drop frames. Don't do that to me. Okay. Alright, so what I wanted to show first at least is some of the things that I have done since the last stream. I had the week, we had the week off, things like that. I have done some things to help define the way our track layout is here. One of the things being, this is just a placeholder for now. This is coming out of one of the other Charlotte builds that we have done in the past. So this is more or less just a placeholder, I guess, just to kind of get an idea of where these pathways are. I found it necessary as far as trying to develop the LP files for the race grooves and what have you to do this in order to create more efficient and more pronounced LP paths, I guess, primarily for use of our AI. So I put this in here, and this will probably more likely be makeshift, just a visual for now, to show where the boundary is for the edge of the track, for the edge of the AC groove. We got this line has been added, as well as the score tower, to show where the race groove is into turn 1. And of course, on this side of the score tower is going to be the exit of pit road. So you come out here and merge into traffic over in this area. Okay, so that was found necessary to do that in order to define where everything is at. Okay, so with all that being done, and the LPs will probably need to be redone once we get the two objects I want to focus on to create in this session primarily, since we've got all our starting grids, our pit road, our pit stall locations are all been defined, all that's been done. Just to kind of summarize what's been done so far. Two of the main areas that we need to get more of a visual, I guess you could say, as far as and this is all coming, to I meant to less words, but it came to be realized that there needs to be better visuals on here in order to create more pronounced LP files, the path files for where the racing groove is and so on. This has worked fairly well, just not entirely all that great. So to define this area more, this chicane, as well as the bus stop that would be in this part of the track, this is what we're going to focus on for the most part in this episode to get these defined. Now I've already applied, this is part of the refining, I guess, the track a little bit more to get these particular objects into place. I've applied just the starting of the safer. I got more drop frames, don't do this to me. Holy smokes. I'm going to let that calm down a little bit. Hopefully I didn't lose everybody. Keeping an eye, I guess, in the health stream. It's not a lot of frames, but just a few frames there, just for a brief moment. Oh, come on. What the heck? Not good. What's going on? Realizing maybe the audio is still there, but not the... I had checked the health of the internet there to make sure that it was good to go for Twitch, but... Oh man, hopefully that's not going to be the the way of things, I guess, in the stream here. I'll have to keep an eye on that just to make sure. Looks like it's calming down a little bit. So as I was saying, yeah, looks like it's calmed down a little bit. It's not a ton of frames, but it's enough, I guess, to kind of create a little bit of a hiccup. So just kind of letting that calm down a little bit. But again, as I was saying, what I have done in the off time there, as far as week off with the streaming, I have applied the start of what is eventually going to be the safer. These are just placeholders. These are just individual pieces of foam to show as a visual, to get that 30 inches of space in between, the cavity in between the steel wall and the concrete wall. So these are just in here just to give a visual, but just to kind of show exactly what I've gone by to get this initially placed in here. And this is going to be the case for the safer all the way around the track. We do have some informations available, and I'm going to bring this up here. I should have already had this up there, actually, so I apologize for that. But I'll go ahead and bring this up really quick. I'm going to put this in a new window. Give me a moment. Let's see. Move to new window. There we go. So I'm going to bring this over. Like so. Okay. So what we have on we've had this for quite some time, so I haven't really pointed it out too much. I just kind of mentioned it in, kind of in casual talk, I guess you could say. But there's this tab on Spline Design's website, and it's been here for quite some time, and it's still relatively in development. But what this thing will give you is a lot of information, primarily to do with NASCAR Racing 2003. It initially goes to the Project Wildfire items that are available from Project Wildfire. They're now defunct Project Wildfire, and it has all these things. These are all the original files from that to get those initial mods that you want to put into the simulation. So it also includes a download for the patch that you will need before you apply that. So make sure to grab that before you apply any of these mods if you're new to NASCAR Racing 2003. And down here, what this will take you to is a lot of the sandbox info, as it states down here. So if I click this, what this does is it goes to a lot of informations that are commonly used for building a track, scratch build or otherwise, for getting certain things into the applied to the track and into the game itself, be it for moving objects, be it all the planes, and it shows all the different steps that you need to have in there for that. Also, on the very bottom of this, it'll give you safer barrier info. So to get all the information that you need, and this can be easily be Googled too, for sure, but what this necessarily does, it gives all the information that provided by NASCAR as far as the dimensions of the safer. We've had available, and we've shown plenty of times as far as like our application of the 3D foam, the 3D modeled foam in there. The foam that we have developed or whatever is the exact thickness that this needs to be to fill this cavity, which is 30 inches between the concrete wall and the steel wall, as I've mentioned. And a few more drop frames. Dang it! I hope this is not going to be the way things going to go today. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that just to make sure that nobody's losing anything. I don't want anybody losing information. I'm pretty sure that'll probably show up in the VOD too. That's why I will always provide the archives over on the YouTube channel. That's something I've come to find that it works out pretty well. In fact, I'll kind of put that out there. If you type in !archives, it will direct you to where I'll put the archives. If the VODs on the Twitch channel, I guess, are not to your liking, or if you just want another place, I guess, to check out all the live streams that I do conduct on Twitch. And there's some more drop frames. Good grief. Alright, so hopefully you can get that. So anyway, that's information, I guess, about where the the archives, as far as just an extension of where the VODs do end up, I guess, on the Twitch channel. They also will get put over on the YouTube channel as well, so you can feel free to check that out over there. Anything related to what goes on in the live streams here. So, okay. I'm on stream. Don't do that. Okay, let me check the health on here. Just making sure. Let me refresh this. Oh, this is a bummer. I don't like that. Everything checked out fine when I did the health of the internets there, because before I went on. So that's usually always what I like to check out before. Oh boy. Okay, so it is there. Just making sure. Checking it out on the channel itself just to make sure. Kind of took a while, I guess, for it to load, so that's kind of a... Oh boy. This might end up being a short stream. I'll have to see how this works out here. I'm going to try and keep an eye on it, like I said, to make sure. Hopefully that doesn't pose to be the issue, I guess, for the duration, the entire duration of the stream. Hopefully not. But anyway, this information, as far as the subpage, you know, there's several different sublinks within this, the information that's on. This is where it originates from. You can click on this tab and it creates separate tabs so that it doesn't step on the original page. So that allows you to go back. And like I said, this is still in development as far as what information will be provided on this. So feel free to keep checking back and seeing what information has been added to this. And if there is anything you would like to see added to these pages here, feel free, I guess, to let me know that way, in that regard as well. So, oh my god, still got drop frames. But anyway, this is the information that I will go by to apply this information as far as the dimensions. You get 38 inches from the outside wall all the way to include the 8-inch thickness of the actual steel itself. So that's the information that I have applied to the track here visually. And I can kind of show this. Let me put up the linear guide. I'll stretch this out a little bit so it shows up in the middle. Okay, so let's go on here. Okay, so yeah, I had to make sure I got that. So yeah, just stretch this out here. So what I can do, and you can zoom in on this here to get this more precise. I've shown this plenty of times before as well, but you get the length of it shows up over on the right side of the main view here. So I'm going to bring this down to what needs to be the 30 inches, which is a 0.762. So even if you can get it to a 0.76, 0.76, so I'm just going to zoom in on this here to get it more precise. Okay. And I'm just looking over here, so we're still a little too wide. Alright, just try to get that down too. Oh man, this is gonna stink so bad. I keep looking at that, I keep seeing it dropping frames. That bothers me. Alright, so I think we're about there. So now what I need to do, actually I should have done it this way, because I need to have it the other direction here. No problem. Okay, so let's do this. Yep, so I need to go from here, and what you can do is basically using these little white squares on the linear guide as a point of reference there. That's kind of like your start point and then your end point. So what I can do is just go like this. And I might have adjusted just a little bit. That's at a 0.74. 7.3. Okay, just trying to, it's kind of hard to see the. Alright, that's pretty close. As long as you can get it within 0.76 roughly. That's going to help you get that distance that you need in between the outside edge of the concrete wall as well as the inside of the steel. So that cavity needs to be roughly 30 inches, just as close to 30 inches as you can get it, and that will accommodate the 3D safer, or the foam, I should say, that model foam. Crap, still dropping frames, unbelievable. Not good. I don't know if this is going to continue. If this does tend to continue on for the most part, I don't know why it's doing this. This is kind of upsetting me a little bit because it's not only for myself, but I guess for those that are trying to watch, trying to view the stream. So it tends to be a little bit intermittent. It's not like a solid drop of frames, but I've already got to this point now, only 20 minutes in here, I've got almost 3,000 drop frames. That's not cool. Not very cool at all. But I will continue this. If it gets worse, if it tends to worsen, I guess as time goes on there, hopefully it'll settle down a little bit there, that I won't have to worry about it at all, but I'll keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't completely tank out. So anyway, that is how I've got this set up here for the safer. The foam here, like I said, these are just individual pieces of foam that we've modeled to the exact size that they need to be based on that the information that I showed here. So this has been made. That doesn't show what this needs to be, but it does fit in between this 30 inches here. So this ends up actually being 30 inches in between. There's to fit in between that. So all that information is available on the Spline Design site, as I said. That's all on there. So feel free to check that out. Plenty of more information, I guess, to look at as well for there. So, and it was needed to apply this safer, I guess the whole point of this, to apply this piece of safer here to get that distance here, so we can apply the one decal that is in this area. And that decal, let me check this here. Okay, just making sure. Alright, so that decal that we're trying to get placed in this area would be this deal right here. In fact, I don't know if I got another picture of it. Let me see if I can bring it up here. I don't think I have one. This one's going to be eventually made as well. This is just a little decal that's in the infield part here. This is, you can see where the comes out of turn 1 into this. This would be like turn 3, I think they consider that. So this one eventually will be able to be made as well. That's not as critical. This is the piece right here let's talk about. This is directly out of iRacing. So this decal, that's right here, this is what we're going to be creating today. As far as this red, white, and blue decal to go right in this area, as far as the head of the cones. So let me zoom out of this. So that'll it'll more or less go right in this area here. So it was needed to put this piece of safer in this area so that we can get that proper spacing, and that's all been done. I've already created a PTF to potentially create. I shouldn't say potentially. I already have done it. As far as to create a DAE model of the track. In fact, I don't want to do this. Let me bring up Max here. I got Max here. So what I did, these two pieces right here, I've already got somewhat of the model for that that piece there already in place. So I kind of went ahead a little bit just to kind of jumped ahead a little bit, I guess. And I'm going to show how I'm going to place this chicane. This is on the front stretch. This represents the area of the track on the front stretch, which would be this area right in here. If I turn off, I know I might tend to jump around a little bit, but if I turn off, it's going to be this area. So that's what, as far as the DAE is concerned, the DAE model of the track, I created, opened that up in 3D SimEd. I spit out a DAE export, I guess, from 3D SimEd, to which I was able to produce this piece here, which I do not have the the model that I'm going to eventually import into the track. I've got this one already applied over here, so let's see if I can zoom in on that. So you can see what I've done here so far. So this model right here represents what is coming from the actual track model, as far as direct representation of the track from the PTF from Sandbox. So this location where this piece is here, I've already got this, what I've created here. I can just kind of lift this up a little bit. This is what it's eventually going to go into the simulation itself as a 3DO. So let me just back that up there. So I've already applied this one appropriately as far as the center, the translate gizmo, I guess, onto this, which is a direct representation of where it is on the track geometry. So that's been done, and then I've taken this here, which was created on a ground plane at ground zero, if you will, in the center of the world, and then I've moved that to reflect the position, I guess, of this based on the track geometry. So I'm going to do the same thing for this part right here, which is going to be the chicane. This is the bus stop, this is the chicane. These are the two pieces I'm going to focus on for the most part for the duration, I guess, of this episode. So hopefully that will explain a little bit as far as what we will be doing today for the most part. And that's going to help us define, like I said, a little bit more exactly where our racing areas are. Just instead of using those placeholders that we did with the cones and what have you. Because as we have it right now, that's all what's in there. And I found it very difficult, to be perfectly honest, as far as to create some legitimate LPs, as far as going through this, to have some type of visual to be able to go by, to make those LPs, I guess, a little bit more efficiently, if you will. So, hence the reason I found it necessary to go ahead and make those decals for this area, as well as the bus stop, or the chicane over in this area, which I'm still a little bit confused. I think this is what is considered, if I bring up the diagram here, I think this is turn 16 and 17 is what this represents. If I bring up that diagram again, in fact, I got that up, but this is one of the decals we'll be making. This one I'm not as concerned about, but eventually that will be made as well, as far as it's on the apron. So we will get to that eventually. So here's a better picture of that. So that's a better picture of that decal that we will be creating. One of them, at least, anyway. That's on the back stretch here, and this is, I think, what is considered, again, let me bring the diagram up here. That should have the diagram in here. Yeah, so this would be 11 and 12, that decal that goes there, and then 15, 16, 17, which is the chicane here. So these are the two objects that we'll be creating, I guess, to define more of our racing surface. And I've already taken care of, as far as the placeholder with the wall that I showed here, as well as putting the scoring tower, I guess, there. That helps tremendously as far as being able to navigate the track as you're driving on it. As far as coming through here and then seeing that score tower and then having something to aim for, especially having this wall right here. And then it helps, like I said, tremendously being able to create the race LP in particular, I guess, to have something to shoot for, something to aim for, be that line and this, having that wall, that line, and that score tower to go by as 3 points of reference, to be able to navigate that corner much more efficiently. So all this being done now is going to it's going to better it even more as far as to get through all this here, so we can really get detailed and super definitive on our race LPs that we create. Okay, so shown all that, I think I've gotten most of all that information out of the way. So we're going to be focusing a lot on getting that one done. So I've already got, I wanted to show the process of how I got the, and there's the textures for them too. I guess that's a little bit more information, I guess, as far as the textures that will get applied potentially to the bus stop area as well as that chicane as far as turns 15, 16, 17. So, man, I can't believe how many frames I'm still dropping. This is crazy. Finding it necessary, I guess, just to kind of pause for a little bit, so that just kind of let it catch up a little bit. I don't want anybody to lose anything. I guess what I'm more concerned of is the fact that this is going to show up in the VOD, as far as on the Twitch channel. So I apologize for that. Not really much I can do about it. It was, I can promise you, everything was checking out just fine prior to me going on the stream. But I always get in the habit of checking that before live streaming. So anyway, this is this is the texture that I'll be applying to those two different objects that we'll be creating today. For the most part, this is for the bus stop, or the chicane. I keep getting those backwards. This is the chicane. The other area is the bus stop. That's what I've labeled them as anyway. Whether or not that's what they actually refer to them as, I just had to differentiate those. To me, this makes more sense as far as being a chicane. It can be argued that I guess it could be the other way around, as far as this being a chicane and this being a bus stop. However you want to look at it, in either case, I just found it necessary to have to differentiate those two areas in order to make those objects that we will be applying there. So, going back to 3ds Max, I kind of showed really loosely, I guess, as far as how I got that there. This is representative of the, like I said, the actual geometry of the track. As far as the positioning, it has not been changed as of yet. You can see I've centered the translate for it in the center, and that's just by going into the hierarchy and setting that, because it'll initially, once you pull that off the DAE, it's just going to be in the center of the world. You don't want that. You want the translate to be centered right on the object to which it represents, which in this case these have been chunked out in two individual pieces, one for the bus stop, one for the chicane, and then I've already created the model that will eventually be created into exported out as a 3DO and applied to the track directly, which is this piece, and that has the texture on it. Okay, so I already have this made into its own scene, so I'm going to merge that. I've already gone ahead and done that, so I'm going to merge in. I just got to find it in my. Okay, so I need the chicane, which is this one, and it's going to give me a choice, which I just want this, and okay, this is just letting me know that there's a texture already applied in here, so I want to use the merge material. Okay, and all that's basically telling me, so I've got those items already in this scene here, so I'm just basically telling it I wanted to use the texture that I've applied already to that model, which that's good. So I have still the unwrap modifier on this thing, so I'm going to basically step that down. I'm going to collapse it. That's normal. So I'm just going to go ahead and collapse that. So it takes the mapping is still there. It's just doesn't no longer present itself, I guess, in the rollout. So okay. So now what I need to do with this being zeroed out, as I already mentioned, you want to get the translate for that based on this information. So what I need to do is copy this while that's highlighted and select this and paste it into this one. So we want to get that this piece here to fall in line where it is in the track geometry. So we'll apply that there and do an enter. Okay, so that's that much closer. Now we'll go this way. Okay, and then go back to this and apply the Y, like so. Okay, and then get the Z. And make sure you have the right one selected. Proper one selected. So let's do copy and paste Z. So every one of those translates as far as X, Y, and Z. So now that's in the position that it needs to be. Okay. From this point, what can be done is to get it to conform, because there is some conformity, I guess you could say, for lack of a better way to describe it. So the fact that we can still see some of the track geometry that has no texture on it. We can still see, and then this, yeah, so there's a little bit of angularity, you know, as far as all the LiDAR information, you know, the height data. We got to be able to conform our piece here to that geometry, if that makes sense. And I'm going to go over that here very shortly. So let's go ahead and convert this to an editable poly. And that's our piece that we're trying to make into a 3D model. Okay. Another thing I need to make sure on this piece, anyways, I did not. We need to make sure that our piece here, this all looks good here, but as far as this overhanging, that's probably not good. We want this model. Okay, and I kind of figured this would be the case too, so you have to. Okay, so what I did when I created this area, based on the track geometry, and I didn't think that was going to create the necessity to open this up here. But basically, what I did, I can kind of show this in this in this version. And this is the one we'll carry over to actually take it into the simulation, actually. But this area here, I define this as a pink area to basically isolate that area as what we need there. And what I did, let's kind of show this. If I turn this off, you can see how this here conforms. So the fact that the actual texture that I've got applied to my model that I've created based on the set image is not lining up. That's somewhat concerning, and I kind of was thinking that was gonna happen, but it's how do I adjust this? I guess it's gonna make the difference here. So let me go this completely top down, and let's see here. Man, it's off quite a bit. Okay. All right, this can be done. I'm just trying to figure out how. So this is the area that I have defined. This is the actual track geometry, so I need to get this model to fit within here, basically. That's what it boils down to. Okay, so from that, I switch it to an editable poly. What I can do from here, I don't have very many vertex points in here, so this might be a little bit interesting, because I'm going to need to probably move this in a little bit. So I'll probably have to cut this just a tad, and this is all part of getting it conformed, I guess, to the track geometry. This is, like I said, a direct representation of the actual track geometry, so that's what we're trying to get it to. Alright, so let's zoom in on this a little bit. So I'll probably have to cut this, do a poly cut here, I guess, just to kind of get this more conformed, so we can get this area here is what we want to be in this here. And track geometry that has no texture, this gray portion here. This part here actually looks good. Okay. Not too bad. So I could even probably go so far as to do a snap. As far as to do a vertex snap, that might not be too bad either. But I'm definitely looking like it's looking like I'm gonna have to cut this poly, and we can do that pretty easily. Let's go like this, and we'll apply a cut if I can find it. Here it is. I'll put on the cut, and I'm gonna put this on edge snaps. So let's go to edge snaps. We don't really need verts, we just need edges. Okay, and this area here I need to get moved in a little bit to conform to this shape. So I'm going to cut this right about here. Just draw a straight line through this here, and then just click out of that. So I will cut it there. Turn that off. We'll go into verts. And then now I can kind of, whoops. Let me turn that off. Got the edge snap still on there. So now I can conform this a little bit. I don't want to distort it. That's the other problem. So I might have to split it down here as well. Let's see, I don't know if that's going to be my best option or not. This down here looks really good though. There's not really a whole lot of adjustment I need to make there, which is good. Okay. Let's see here. I don't know if that's going to be my best option for that or not. Let's see. Okay, let me try and put this back to... This is at... I'm just checking the translates on there. So I got 106, 758. Alright, so I think I gotta go by the Y. 165, 765. Yeah. So I think I gotta go by that. So let me copy the Y from this. I'm gonna put that back where it was. I could just do an undo, but just want to make sure it's where it needs to be. It should be. That's not right. What the heck? Let me do that again. Okay, that's at minus 106. Yeah, that's definitely not the X. Huh. Why is it not straight? At least it doesn't look straight anyway. I guess I might be just looking at it weird. Alright, let me try copy that one more time. We'll get this right. Copy that. And put this into this Y. Paste. Yep, so that's apparently straight. Why doesn't that look straight? Looks crooked to me. But they are at the same level there. Just doesn't look straight. I don't know if I'm looking at that weird. I might be just kind of looking at it. But it is straight. So this is at... I think this one I did move. Let me put this back as well. Alright, let's paste this. Okay, so that's apparently straight. Okay. Now, when it comes down to... I may even have to just... adjust the... kind of thinking out loud here now as far as what actually needs to happen here. I don't... The one thing I guess I take into consideration right at this point is the fact that this is overhanging where I need the texture actually to apply. So... it may just even come down to me having to adjust the mapping. I might just go ahead and just bring it back in completely. I think I will just do that. I'm going to start completely over with this one as far as to bring it back in. And yeah, I think that'll make me feel a little better. Let's do that. So let's go ahead and just delete that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge it back in like I did initially. Just do an import, do a merge. Okay, and we'll bring in the chicane. Just this one here, and I just want to bring in this portion and do some use merge material. Cool. Now I'm going to collapse this down again just to remove the unwrap, UVW unwrap. The mapping's still there, it's just it's not in the rollout here anymore. That's fair mention. So now I want to convert this to an editable poly. Okay. Now let's get those translates for this again. We'll get it back and get it over to that location. Copy to here. So the fact that I've got those as a separate scene there is a huge help, because it eliminates any possibility of losing any work as far as to have to start completely over on everything. Okay. Cannot stress it enough as far as how much you should make it easier on yourself as far as to not work just in one scene, you know, to have these all separate so you can potentially bring those back if need be. Okay. Paste. Alright, so now we got that back to where to square one. And I think what it's going to come down to is just to get, rather than to mess around with the model itself, let me get this completely top down. Down in this end it looks pretty good. It's just up here is what's not. So if I'm going to adjust this at all, the way I think of this, I would have to adjust it on both ends. You know, as far as just to bring that down and then bring this out. That's what I think of. So maybe I'll try that. Let's try it this way. So what I'm going to do is grab these 2 points. I'm going to stretch this down here. That'll get that to where it needs to be. Okay, and then these 2 points, shrink this down like so. This is what I don't like here. So that's taking that off of there. That was that's what concerns me. Okay. Yeah, this does not line up here. That's what's... Son of a gun. Yeah, because I can already tell that's going to not line up, because this is the edge. This would be where the apron is. So the fact that it'll put that texture on the wrong side of where it needs to be. So how do we fix that? That's the question. This is the ultimate question. Alright, so I don't want to just move this. I've already tried that. That's not going to be... because what that's going to do is it's going to contort the the actual texture that's on that flat poly. And that's what I don't want. So I do know one of the other things I need to do is just... Yeah, we did talk about the contour. So I do know one thing that needs to happen here. Let's see if this helps us out here. So if I move this up like so, see what height that needs to be at. Okay, this might be part of the difference here too. I think what might be easier, let's see if this will work. If I was to snap the vertex. God, I'm still dropping frame. This is nuts, people. What is up with this today? We've been good all week long. Now it's starting this crap. Yeah, hopefully y'all ain't missing too much. We've already been well 47 minutes into this here, and we've already got 6,500 drop frames. That's nuts. Holy smokes. Okay. Well, we're gonna tough through this. Gonna tough through it. It might end up being a short stream. As unfortunate as that sounds. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, as I was mentioning here, I think I'm gonna try and snap. See how this works here anyway. I'm gonna try and snap the vertex of this corner. Let's see. Let's put it on vert snaps. Take it off edge snaps. We'll do vert snaps. And I'm going to take our model that we're potentially trying to create here. All this pink area, as far as this magenta, that's going to be transed out. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Not going to be able to see that. The only thing that's going to be visible on it is going to be this roadmap here, which we can adjust the detail of that as far as how that looks later on. I'm just trying to get something applied to it, at least initially. Okay, so what I want to do is snap this to here, and we'll snap this to... Not only will this, what I'm thinking, what it should do, what I'm thinking anyway, it'll not only give us our height level, you know, as far as our elevation and stuff that's in here, but it would hopefully conform this model that we're trying to create over to that track geometry better. Okay. Alright, so let's kind of move this around here a little bit. See then what I can do from here once I get this snapped. I can already tell this is off. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to try and snap this to there. That's the... But what I can do, I think, too, is check the... Let's take this off of snaps here really quick. What I can do is check the... Whoops. Nope, I want to stay in here. Go to vertex. I want to check the location of that vert. Okay, so minus 213. This one's at... Alright, so what I want to do is put this vert at the same Y. So let's do copy, paste this. Like so. Alright, so that should line that up, so that's straight. Now let's do in this corner. 166, let's go here. Yep, that one's definitely off, so let's do this. Copy this Y. Paste that over here. Whoops. Like so. Okay, so now I know that's straight. That should be at the same. What I'm not 100% sure about, let me put this top down. It still looks a little bit off here. We'll have to see how that actually conforms. So what I can do, let me check this here. I can always back this out and undo it. But if I was to take this now and just kind of lower this, you can see where that's landing. So I think it's probably still a little bit off. Okay. You can see how it's... This part we want to be on this gray area, which is the actual track geometry, so... It's a little bit off, I feel. But at least this is conformed to the shape of the track geometry, at least, anyway. Let me check the Z on this one. This is all going to be transed out, so you're not going to see this. All of this part here should basically be conformed to our model, at least potentially. We'll have to test that out and see if that actually ends up being the case. So I think for now we'll just leave that as it is. Now let's go ahead and conform this deal. So let's go zoom over here. And then what I'm going to do is end up saving this as a scene so that I have this to go back on. Alright, so I know this for sure. This track geometry is exaggerated. I just wanted to get this model. The shape of this here, I want to maintain this shape as much as possible. Only because the way I've designed this is in direct conformity of the SAT image.
Rock, yeah?
Rock. Hey, Racer James, is it already time? Wow, is it that month going by already? Holy smokes. I've been dropping a few frames too, so just to keep that in mind. Hopefully that, yeah, hopefully that's not causing an issue there. I've got several drop frames, I guess, since I started the stream. I've been keeping an eye on it, but yeah, I appreciate that. It's hard to believe it's already been another month. Holy smokes. I appreciate that sub though. Thank you very much. Are you I guess with that being said there, James, I guess, are you still working hard, I guess, on the house? Or do you actually get to chill a little bit, I guess, and hang out for a bit? Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, yeah. So I got a few more drop frames. Man, this is nuts. Yeah, I've been good all week as far as the streaming goes, as far as Wednesday and yesterday. But today it's just being a turd. So that's kind of a bummer. So yeah, hopefully if you are working on the house there, James, hope that's going well for you. I've been watching the progress of that. It's been going along pretty well for you. So it seems like haven't had any problems with it. Yeah, we did a few things today. Time for some fried chicken. Sounds good. I had me some what did I have? Some nuggets. I had some Tyson nuggets. So that was fun. I had some Tyson nuggets with some seasoned fries. Not curly fries, but just the seasoned fries. That was yummy. I had that. I'm finding it necessary. I need to have something to eat prior to stream because I get so freaking starved when I do these streams, for the better part of 3 or 4 hours and without having something to eat. I find it a bit tacky, whatever, to try and eat in that, I guess, while I'm streaming there, because that's, as far as like just munching into the mic and stuff like that. Getting close to connecting all the cold water lines up to water, and then pressure testing to see if I can hack it as a plumber. Yeah. Now, everything that I've seen so far looks very clean. You might tend to give yourself enough credit as far as, because it looks a lot better than I've seen plenty of other people do. Like your solder jobs, I guess, as far as for the copper, as far as the snot, as you call it, I guess that tends to present itself on it as far as really, redefining, I guess, being more precise, I guess, as far as how you apply that solder. There's a right and wrong way, definitely, I guess, as far as applying that solder, making sure you got a sealed copper pipe, that's for sure. So you've been pretty particular on that. And I think you've had your fair share, I guess, between the copper pipe as well as the PVC, because the PVC, you had some issues too as far as the glue, the PVC glue not sticking right. Looks better than the plumber, quote unquote, we hired, but back when we bought the house. More on the pipes than on the floor, so you might be doing it okay. You talking about the solder or the PVC cement? Because I know in my ventures, I guess, as far as doing PVC and or copper pipe, you do tend to get a lot of solder. I've seen some of your pictures, I guess, as far as the dust and the solder, as far as being speckled with glitter, if you will. Yep. No, I get you. Trust me, I get you. I've been there. I do not envy you at all. Let's just put it that way. As far as doing that type of stuff, it's not fun. It's great when it's over. That's for sure. And everything, there's no leaks, and everything works like it's supposed to, as you intended, as far as putting it all together. But yeah, it's not fun, I guess, having to do it all. And the fact that you're basically just doing it all over completely, as far as all the copper and all the drains and stuff like that, like I said, I don't envy you at all. But it seems to be turning out nice from what I've seen. I'm glad you've been sharing the pictures of the progress on that too, just to kind of keep us, for all us DIYers that necessarily would like to know how things work. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do ourselves. Like you said, the quote unquote plumbers that are out there, they, we know just as much as they do, to be honest. Yeah, no problem there, bud. I think, that house is going to be something proud to be in. I mean, it probably would be even nicer, I guess, once you get the drywall done, especially get the paint down and all that stuff. Doing all this, the plumbing stuff, that's as tedious as that is. I think once you get to that point where, drywall's on, you got paint on the walls, and actually get to move in there, that's going to be the satisfaction. And I think that's what we've kind of somewhat portrayed as well, as far as doing these the 3D modeling stuff. It's creating something relatively out of nothing, or just very little, if anything, and the satisfaction of the completed work. That's what I tend to like to convey, I guess, about doing stuff for yourself. I mean, it can be frustrating and annoying and irritating even, but I think there's a satisfaction factor in there to consider, I guess, when you create these things on your own and have something to be proud of. So lipstick and mascara is coming. What do you mean the lipstick and mascara? What did I miss there? Is that for the wifey there? Like a powder room of sorts? Oh, drywall and paint, lipstick and mascara. Now you're not considering doing lipstick and mascara, I guess, for. Or are you just talking about just the fine touches? Is that what you mean? Lipstick and mascara on the pig of a mess. Yeah, I think I get you. That's funny though. Now I think it's gonna look nice. The way you've got the wiring and all that stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong there though, but the wiring, as far as electrical, the majority of that you had that contracted out, if I remember right. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I know a lot of the insulation and the plumbing for sure you've done a lot yourself. There's been some electrical, from what I've understand, that you did do yourself, but as far as the majority of the wiring, you had that contracted, if I remember right. That's the based on the pictures that I've seen as far as the walls that are not drywalled yet, and just looking at how nice that wiring's done. That's very good. I like it. And nope, just the panel and the main. Okay. I wasn't sure. I'm glad you corrected me. So that's all been yourself as well. So yeah, that looks nice. I mean, you almost hate to want to cover that up, because it's very neatly done. I mean, you can't say so much, I guess, for a lot of other quote-unquote electricians as far as like that. They think they've got a way of doing those types of things. I think doing that type of stuff yourself is definitely better. And we can go on and talk about these types of things for days, to be honest. But I don't want to take away. You might necessarily be wanting to get away from all the housework there. So if I'm doing that, necessarily, I'll cease and desist, I guess, on all that talk. And continue on, I guess, what I'm doing here. I think that's what you probably came over here for, I'm sure. That's what you've been supporting, I guess, what's been going on in the channel all this time. And how many months has that been now? I didn't look to see. Is that... holy smokes. I can't believe that month is gone already. That amazes me. It just seems like it was not too long ago, I guess, you just had subbed to the channel. Unbelievable. 2 years worth of talking. That's how long it's taken. Yeah. No, I know it's been a while. But I think the work that's, it's starting to show. I think that's the thing. It's starting to show, and I think that's what matters. If there was no forward progress, I guess, on it, yeah, it would create some frustration there. But you got nothing to really be frustrated about. I mean, I think the work is actually showing. You're showing forward progress, and it's actually getting to an end point. Like I said, all the pictures that you shared in there, I think it looks great. I'd be proud to want to live in that house. That's for sure. I mean, it's nice and clean. I like that, up from the wiring to the plumbing, the drywall eventually, and I'm sure the floors and everything else. So, and I think it kind of is a direct relationship, I guess, as far as the 3D modeling. Because I'm kind of somewhat the same way. I'm a little OCD as far as how things line up, as I've been messing around with how this texture is aligning to this model that I'm trying to create for. Let me go back to that. I'm not sure when you came in here, but what I did was I conformed this model, because it does have some elevation and all that stuff into it. So I had to conform this model, which was initially designed on a ground plane. So I had to get the DAA model of the track geometry, in a position, get the translates there and get that moved to that translate, and then had to conform it, as far as the height elevations and all that stuff that exists in it. It's still yet to be seen how well this is going to line up in this area on the track itself. And I was getting pretty OCD and how it wasn't lining up exactly how I measured it out based on the texture that I applied here. I was having it kind of overlap quite a bit. So it should have been pretty square with the way I've done this with the track geometry. But the fact that I've had to adjust it as much as I did, I don't think it's going to line up exactly the way I was hoping it would. So that's still yet to be seen. I don't know if it's going to have the same conformity as I do this F section here. That's still yet to be seen. Because as it sits right now, just to kind of give you an idea of the way that you can see how this is contoured, the model that I'm putting onto it is relatively straight across. It doesn't have this dip here. And that's what it's doing, is it's necessarily creating the necessity for the texture, I guess, to kind of bleed over where it tends to be straight on the actual model. So, and I did attempt, at least anyway, to, and I started over, to be honest, but here's a top-down view. What I did try to do, this is just 4 vertices. What I did try to do is just kind of cut this in the middle and see if I could move that middle, I guess, to kind of get that to conform a little closer. But what that does is it actually warps or contorts the actual texture. So I don't want that either. So I want to keep the texture, I guess, somewhat straight. So what it's down to this point, I'm going to have to see how it actually presents itself once I create the model, the 3DO, to put it onto the track itself. But as it sits right now, it doesn't look terrible. I know both of these objects, as far as the geometry, the gray objects that I have presented here, I do know that they're exaggerated, to say the least. They don't conform entirely to, because as I've preached all the way back, as far as not creating your segments, I guess, to conform to these different types of areas like that. So that's why you have 3DOs, as I'm trying to create here, I guess, to take care of that, as far as to conform your visuals, I guess, on the track itself. So instead of taking these segments and splitting them up to conform, I guess, to these different regions here, you're using a 3DO instead. But what it does necessarily create somewhat, and that's what I just witnessed, I guess, with trying to create this chicane here, what it does necessarily create is a mismatch, I guess, as far as the texture on the model you're trying to create and the geometry. So how we get past that and how we get that to conform as closely as possible, that's the challenge, I guess, that exists. And it can be done, don't get me wrong. It's not, sometimes it's just not like, a couple clicks and you're done. That's something to necessarily take into consideration as far as when you're creating these. It's not just like, okay, if I'm taking a SAT image, as long as I'm putting in that texture flat, as a 2D flat, I guess, on there, it's going to conform automatically, I guess, to not the case here. That's never going to happen. As much as you would love to be able for that to happen, it's never going to. So you have to take that into consideration. That's exactly what we're dealing with here with this chicane here. So I think I've seen a way to change geometry while looking, while locking the mapping in 3D space, so to speak. Never mess with it. Don't even remember what it's called. Oh, okay. Now, I'm trying to think of what you meant by, let's see, as far as locking the mapping. Oh, I think I get what you might be saying as far as, see, my biggest thing is what it comes down to is just how I measured it. Because when you measure it in Google Earth, say, for example, the way I measured this shape for the model that I'll eventually, that I'm going to use, I guess, as a 3DO, and all this is going to be trans. The only thing it's going to show is just this area. And this, trust me, this texture is not 100% final. This will be, this is just to get a texture, I guess, onto the 3DO itself, as I mentioned. So I think what the major problem with how I've got this design, it's probably just all a measurement. It might be just a matter of just being that much off on measuring, because when you pick your points in Google Earth as far as like how wide something is, I try to take the widest points here, so I did from like here outwards, say, for example, and then from like this point down. So it could be just as simple as being off in that regard, as far as how I applied the texture and lined it up onto the texture here. And keeping in mind, you have to, with these textures that you design, they have to be in conformity with the power of 2. So that's something else I take into consideration when I applied this. So this all right here, I did not change the shape or how do I want to say that? As far as this is directly off the SAT image. I have not distorted it or anything like that. That's directly off the SAT image and applied it to as close as what I felt was a power 2, which in this case is a 1024 by 256 for this one, which I think is the same for this one as well. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Yeah, these are both the same size, so they're 1024 by 256. In fact, in this one here, I won't even need a lot of this here, and I've got these all in layers. I'm only going to need this part here, so that's going to be a lot of wasted space. So I may necessarily find it necessary to adjust this texture, because the only thing that's really going to be needed for this decal is just all this red, white, and blue. So all the rest of this is in here is just to get it placed properly. Like typically when you move a vert, it moves the UVW. Oh, I gotcha. I see what you mean. Yeah, so it doesn't distort it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that'd be good to know. That's something I'd be interested in knowing too, because yeah, that's exactly what I was dealing with as far as like moving just the model vert, the fact that the vert that exists in the UV map, which is a totally separate aspect to the model itself, if being able to lock those two down, so when you move the vert on the model, it actually moves the vert that's applied to the UV map, UV unwrap as well. And that's exactly it. So that could be too. So I think just a matter of being able to do that. I think what it really also is a factor is, like I just mentioned, as far as the measurement, the way I measured this size of this, from the max points. I think that's probably creating this offage, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. I think that's what might be causing that as well. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to leave it just like this, just to see, and then see how it actually conforms to our track geometry once we get that created. But what I want to do, I don't want to waste too much time on this. I want to show the same process, I guess, on this. Oh, and I already see what it did now when I had it use the crap. No problem. I can still, it's not a big deal. So what it did when I imported this back in here, I had it use this merge material instead of the scene material. So it applied a different texture onto this one here, but I can change that. That's not a big issue. So let's get this selected, and then we're on the bus stop. I've named that. So now what I can do is go in my material editor, and oh, actually it's not in here. Okay. Okay, let me go down to this sphere. Yeah, because what I did, and keeping in mind, this original scene that I created here was based on a DAE. So I just imported these two models, be it the bus stop here and the chicane, and that was in a separate scene. So I don't have those textures in here. So what I can do here to make this scene, this will be separate from those two independent ones. I'm going to go ahead and bring that texture into this. I'll bring it on this sphere. So I'll set this up on standard. Okay, and then I'll go into the diffuse color and just navigate to that texture. Now this is for the bus stop, and I want to use the TGA. So I want to have alpha in it. I need to have an alpha channel. So let's go roll bus stop, TGA. Now I got the image alpha in there, which is good. So now I want to apply that, and I want to replace it in this case. So that it puts that on there. Now it shouldn't change this one, I hope. Crap. Son of a gun. Why is it doing that? I don't understand that. Ugh. Alright, so maybe that's not going to work like I thought it would. Yeah, so what it did is it put the same texture onto this one here too. That's not what I want though. Alright, hold on a second here. Okay, let me leave that one now. I got to get this straightened out first. So it's putting the same texture on both these models. I don't want that. So, and I'm dropping more frames. Lovely. I mean, it's been intermittent. It hasn't been like a solid drop of frames, but it's just annoying. It was so good, I guess, for Wednesday and Friday, and the fact that it's doing this today, it's kind of annoying. Alright, so let me go back into here. Let's see if I can apply this here. I didn't read the options that I had there, so I was kind of speeding that up a little bit. You haven't noticed anything? Interesting. Yeah. I've got, since I started, and I've got an hour and 12 minutes in already as far as the uptime is concerned. I've already got almost 7,000 drop frames. It's ridiculous. But as long as you're not seeing anything, I guess that's good. That's all that matters. It's just freaking me out because I can see it do that out of the corner of my eye. Alright, so I need to apply the chicane, rollable chicane. I need the TGA, which has an alpha channel. There that is there. And then I want to apply... Okay, so I think we're good. There we go. Now we got it the way we want it. Yeah, I think it was just the way I merged it in there. Initially, I think that's what was... It was trying to apply the same texture to both models, and I don't want that. So now I've got proper texture on that one, and a proper texture on this one now. So I think we're good. So now, before I move on, so just so that I have something to go back on, I need to... I'm going to go ahead and save this as a scene. And I think I already had it. Yeah, this one has the bus stop and chicane. I have a scene with just the individual bus stop as well as the chicane. So they're just by themselves on a ground plane. So they're just at 0. So they're not in position as far as the track geometry. This is what I'm trying to conform it to, the track geometry in this scene. So I've already saved it once, so I'm going to save over that. Yes. So now when I come back to this, this is exactly what I'll have, just in case something goes wrong. So it's just having a starting scene, if you will. Okay, so now we got this in position. I want to get this one in position. And as I said before, the white that's presented in here represents the track geometry off the DAE. And there's a process for that, as far as like assigning like a contrasting texture, for example, so that you can clearly define that area of the DAE, so that you can separate that from the rest of the track geometry. And we've already gone over that before, so I was trying to shortcut it just a little bit so we can kind of expedite some of this process. If there is any other question about that, anybody that's in chat that has a question about that, I can go over that if it's so asked. But as for right now, the way this is presented here, as far as the track geometry, this is representative of another PTF that I made just to make a DAE for that, just to get it in position. So what I did was this one's doesn't have that in here. In fact, I can kind of open that really quickly here. I'll do a new and do an open. I'll open that PTF to what I used here, just to kind of show what I did to kind of isolate those areas. So I applied a contrasting texture so that I could isolate that in the DAE once I bring it import it into 3ds Max. And just to kind of briefly go over this, I'm not going to go into all the details of it, but then that's what this is representative here as well as here. That's what's in Max here. So this area is representative of this, oh, for crying out loud, of this pink area that I've got here, or purple, however you want to call it. But that's this area. That's what's in Max here. That's the gray area that has no texture. So that was just to get the model that I created here, and I've already got this conformed as to how it needs to be, like this. This is based on the SAT image, so I already got that. This is what I want it to conform to. So I don't want to mess with the size or the shape of the model that I'm trying to do. I just want to get it into position. Okay, so that's the difference between the bus stop and the chicane. This is the bus stop here. So this is just to get it into position. I don't want to change the, although I might have to a little bit now that I think of it, because of this line here represents just ahead of the safer. And that's another thing that I pointed out at the start of the stream. That's something that I had to do in order to apply this decal. I needed that information from the safer, so that's why I put just a little bit of safer in here, I guess, so I had that. So if you will, you can kind of see how this works here. This line that's right here, this F section that I put, is based on an F section. It's just ahead of that steel, so that's what that line here represents. So what I might have to do still is conform this shape, at least so that it's on that line, at least a little bit. Let me put this completely top down. There we go. And I'm going to have to conform it to the banking and all that stuff too. That's the other thing. So yeah, you can see this has got banking to it. It's got some elevation to it. So I need it to conform to that. I need this model that I'm trying to create there to conform to all that. This is all based on, this is in direct relationship to the actual geometry of the track. So I need to get to conform to that. So okay, so what I can do, I gotta think about this, and you can kind of get the idea of how exaggerated the track geometry shape is in comparison to. I want to keep this as much conformed as possible. I obviously do need to get this edge to this edge for sure. Okay, but still staying within the confines, I guess, of this. This is all exaggerated right here. So this shape, for the most part, is this. So I just got to get this down, at least to this line. That should be all I need to do. I don't necessarily, like I did on the chicane that I did earlier, I don't want to snap this vert to that vert. Okay, I don't want to do that because this is exaggerated. I don't want this point to be all the way over here. Like I said, the shape of this is practically already conformed based on the SAT image that I got here. This shape here that you see here is what's in here. That's what yeah, so I don't want to contort the shape of this all that much. I just wanted to get it to fit within the track geometry here, if that makes sense. So if anything, what I need to try to do is get the Y translate for this to probably include the Z. And so the Y and the Z, I'll probably need to get it snapped just straight down on this, but have the proper height as well. Okay, so I think I've just answered my question as far as how I need to go about this. So what I need to do is get this translate here, and primarily the Y, and I'm going to copy this, and then go to the Y on this model. Okay, go to here, and I'm going to paste that to here. That should give me an idea. Oh, what did that move? That's weird. Hold on a second. What in the heck? Why didn't it move that? Just a minute. I goofed somewhere. So I got the vert. Yep, it's got the one vert selected. Why did that not move? That's interesting. So let me try that again. So let's do paste. That's weird. Why is it doing that? Something's not right. Okay, so let's make sure. Let me do this as an editable poly for one. Maybe that might be part of my problem. Okay, let's go into vertex. And let's try to paste that in there again. Something's causing that. There we go. That must have been because I didn't have it as an editable poly. I'm going with that. So now I've got it at least at the same Y. It just doesn't have the right Z yet. So I'll get the Z on the track geometry model. So let's select that. Go back into here. We need to get the Z for this. Okay. Oops. My selection process here is kind of, I apologize for that. So copy that and then go back into this and paste that. Okay, I gotta make sure I got the right. It should have already been on there, but why do I have? There we go. There we go. So we can make sure we get this selected here and then paste that value from there into here. So that should move it up like that. So now it's at the same height as well as, you know, it's just a lateral move, I guess you could say. So I have not changed. Okay, let me put this on the top down. It still looks like that's weird. So it must be on some of an angle too. It's not 100% straight as far as the track geometry. So it might even behoove me just to go ahead and, you know, just kind of snap that to that edge instead of, I might have to try that. Let me try that here really quick here. Yeah, because what's happening here is this edge of the track geometry is not 100% straight. It goes on an angle. So the fact that it's not the same, in fact, if I check it this way, that'll clearly tell me. So like if I go to this vert, that Y, why is it not selecting? There we go. So this Y is at 247. Okay, so if I check on this one, yep, that's at 246. So that's on an angle. So it kind of goes downward. So it's not 100% straight across. So that's why when I put this vert, I guess at this one here, you can see it's not 100% lined up with that track. So I need to get it more lined up to the actual track geometry. So if anything, what I could do is maybe even snap this vert to this vert that's right here. There's a vert that's right here that's the closest. Or I can just edge snap it and bring it straight down. So I have one of two options there. I think what I'll try first is go into this, and I'll go into vert, and I'm going to try to just edge snap this for starters. If that doesn't work, then I can just snap to that vert. Let's bring this here. That might not be too bad. I can live with that. I can live with that. So now I know that's snapped right to that track geometry edge. So let's do the same thing over here. Okay. I don't even need to mess with getting the Y and all that. I'll just snap this and try to bring it straight down here. I think that's going to be my best option here. So let's select this. And snap it like so. Alright, so that's good there. Now, there's a little bit of wonkiness, I guess, on here, and that's to be expected because I still got to adjust these two as far as the height. So let's check this here. Yep, so I got to adjust that yet too. That's actually not bad. So this is still snapped to that edge, and that vert is snapped to that edge as far as the track geometry is concerned. So that's good. Alright, what I should be able to do here, let me put this back to top down, like so. And try to do the same thing. I'm just going to try and snap that to the edge. There's a vert that should be right there, but I don't know if that's going to be... Let's try the edge snap there first, and we'll go from there. Alright, so if I do this, put it on edge snaps, just bring that right down. Okay. See, now you can kind of get an idea of there's a vert that's right here, but I didn't want to contort it too much. Same as here. I definitely don't want to put this vert onto this vert. Now there might be a vert that's pretty close there. I'm not sure. Let me check that actually. Let's turn snaps off here for a second. I don't think there's a vert. Yeah, there is a vert right here as far as the track geometry, but that's going to kind of slide it back, so that's kind of going to contort that texture. That I don't want to do that too much. I want to bring it as straight down as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just go ahead and do another edge snap. Grab this vert like so. Okay, and then just do an edge snap. Let's go back to top down. Let me see. Maybe that's not the best option. Okay, let's try it this way. Ugh. See, I already know I can't go by the Y translate, I guess, as far as that vert, because it's not 100% straight. It looks straight, but it's not. That much I know, just based on what the top edge of that track geometry was like as well. So what I'm going to do in this case, just go ahead and bring this down like so. And that should be pretty close. That's almost just a direct straight down. Let me turn those snaps off. The only thing that I'm concerned with, and it might have to do with just the way the height values, I guess I could say, in the track geometry, it's going to have this. This is going to actually present the same way. If I was to bring this 3D model in here, if I was to create it like this, it's going to have all this clipping. And I don't want that. We definitely don't want that. So what I'm probably going to have to do is kind of exaggerate a little bit. And what I mean by that is I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit based on how this Z is, so that that's not clipping like this. Because this is what is essentially going to the way it's going to show if I was to apply this model. If I leave it this way, that's how it's going to present if I try to bring it into the track. And I don't want that, because that's going to clip the track geometry through the actual model, so we don't want that. So in order to correct that, one of the ways I can do that, like for example, is I can just exaggerate the height on this here just a little bit. Alright, so let's do this. So the Z on this one is 5.675. Okay, so what I can do is stay relatively close to that number, but just bring it up just a skosh on the actual model that we're trying to conform to it. So let's go here. There's that vert. I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit until, see, you can see it starting to pop through. So I might have to split this, or cut this a little bit so I can adjust this area. Is what that's coming down to. And that's what I needed to know. Okay, so I'll probably leave this relatively where it's at, or maybe just come up that tick. But then I'll have to cut this again because I got no way to move this yet, because there's only a point here and a point here. So if anything, I might have to cut the poly, I guess, across here so I can adjust this area, which is not a big deal. We know there's going to be some some height issues for sure, I guess, as far as and that's what we want to correct. And it's obviously presenting itself that way over here too. I don't think there's a vert here anyway. Let me check. I guess I do got a vert there. Sweet. All right, so I don't need to cut it. So there is a vert right here, so I can move this up. And instead of dragging it this way, see, I almost caught myself. Instead of dragging it this way and getting it all wonked out of shape, use these arrows to adjust it, and just go up a tick at a time. So you can see how that's doing that. So I think I'm still going to have to cut it. Let me see here. Let me go back this way. Is there another vert in here? I don't think there is. I think there's just one right there and one right here. So I almost need a vert like right in this area, which there's not. So I got the one right here, but I need one like right here to adjust that area. Alright, so let me bring this up. In fact, I don't even think that needs to be adjusted. Let's go back down. I need to cut probably right in through here somewhere. Okay, so let's go back to top down. We're going to get this thing conformed. Okay, so let's rotate this around. Let's make sure we're 100% top down. Alright, so let's hide this one here for a second. Alright, so what we got here is a vert here. I need to put one like right here, so I'm going to cut this like right across here. I already got one here. That's interesting how I did that. So what I can do is I can create a cut like from here to that vert. So that I got, and I can, because I'm going to probably need to adjust it the same way on this end too, relatively. Okay, so let's do that. Yeah, let's go, yeah, we're editable poly, go to polygon, go to cut, and then I'm going to put this on edge snap. Yep, edge snaps, and then go to this edge, and then what I'll do is I'll cut all the way to here. You know what? Hold on a second. Let me snap out. Let me right click out of that just to stop that. I'm going to put it on vert snaps too. That way it should snap right to that vert. So we're going to go from here down to here. I'm looking for the cursor. There we go. And I can snap out of that. I should have snapped right to that vert. If I was lucky there. Let's see if it did. I think it did. Let's go to vert. Yep. So that cut is actually snapped right to that vert, so that's what I wanted. Good deal. Alright, so now what I have the option of doing, let me get out of cut. What I have the option of doing is I can adjust this now. I can bring back our track geometry. Like so. And there we go. Now I should be able to adjust that area. Okay, so let's select our new vert, which is right there, and we're just going to bring this up a tick until we can get that to show through. Okay, let's select. Dang it, anyway. Shoot, I still need another vert there. Unbelievable. Son of a gun. This is becoming more of an issue than I thought. Ugh. Alright, let's see here. I might have made this more more of a mess than I wanted it to. Because if I go up on this, that's, I don't even need that to come up. Yeah, I can see how that's burying all that. Okay. Let's see. I guess I can put another vert in there, I guess. Because I need to get this up, obviously, now. Okay, let's do that. We'll have to do that. So let's go top down. Alright, we'll hide this one for a moment. Hide that. Alright, so now let's create another vertex, or another cut basically just below that. So like right in between these two. I really don't want to do that, but it's creating a necessity to do so. Alright, there's no other vert that I want to attach here, so it's just going to be an edge snap. But I can keep the verts on, that's fine. There's just no vert over here for it to snap to. Alright, so if we go to poly, go to cut, and I'm going to put another cut. Make sure I'm on the edge, and just bring this all the way across. And do it right about there. Oh, gotta make sure I'm snapped to it. There we go. And just right click out of that. Now what that does is it does create a vertex right there as well. I'll turn the snaps off. Okay, and then we're going to unhide that track geometry. Now let's see how much we can adjust it this way. Okay, so now we have vertex here. Now we can move that up. Holy smokes. Really, dude? What's up with this? Wow. There's a lot of, this is not working out like I thought. There's a lot of elevation data, I guess, in there. Alright, let me see if I can move this more this way. And I know that's messing up my... if anything, I'll have to redo the mapping for this, which is not a big deal. I just can't get over how much... Let me bring these closer together here. This is probably a no-no. I don't deny that, but holy smokes. Okay, now we can really see the difference in there. Holy crap, why is it? Wow, okay, hold on. Let's bring this back down. Okay, let's get it to the point where it's below. Okay, now it's below. There is a lot of elevation data right in that area. That's crazy. Alright, let me bring this part back down. Yep, so that's actually pretty close. It's just right in here. That's kind of crazy. Wow. That would suggest that there's like a huge dip there or something. Okay, so let's bring this down. Alright. Look at how much that's... Wow. I'm probably going to have to put some cuts in here, because that's actually adjusting that entire length there. A lot of conformity to do to apply to this thing, that's for sure. Okay. Not that I didn't expect it. I'll be perfectly honest. Okay. Let's, okay, let me check this over here. I can already see this is up too high. Let's tick this down. Alright. Now we should have another one right here, yes. What in the world? How is that far off? That's crazy. Wow. Alright, let me check this and see what we got here in a second here. Yeah, so I'm just ticking this up here until it starts. Okay, there it goes. Holy crap. Alright. That's better. Alright, so let's see what we got here. Let's tick this up. So the fact that I needed to adjust this end too, that's probably creating the necessity, I guess, as far as what's going on in the other end too. There we go. So we're getting that. But we still got this general area right here is still presenting, I guess, to be... Okay, that's just above it right there. Alright, so we got one here. Let's tick this down. There we go. So that's clipping. We're right about there. Maybe one more tick up. So we just got this general area right here. So I'm wondering, the way this is here, that's probably that transition to the apron. As far as this is the actual racing surface. This is our, where the edge of our steel wall is. So we'd have a racing surface here. This is probably apron. As far as that transition there. So it's pretty uniform all the way down this entire object. As far as how much it's clipping the geometry through the model. So it does create the necessity to probably create another cut so that we can adjust it appropriately. Now I don't know if it would be more conducive, I guess, to do it this way or this way again. I'm almost thinking putting a couple cuts this way. So go do one here and here and see what that does. Because the fact that we still have some adjustment to make here as well. Let's see. Alright. That's just weird how it's doing that. I'm not gonna lie. That is a bit strange. But I get it. So we just gotta figure out a way, I guess, to get past that. So if we go tick up here. Nope, that's not adjusting that at all. So the fact that that area of the model that we're trying to conform to the track geometry is still that low. Wait a minute, what's going on here? Do I have two different verts? What the heck is going on here? Uh-oh. Yep, it does. It says two vertices. Whoa, crap. I might have goofed here, folks. That's probably why. Okay, let's just get this vert. Oh, snap. Whoopsie. Okay, hold on. I might have goofed. Because I don't know how close. Here, let me check the the Z on both of these. So this one's at 4512. Alright, let me put this at, I'm just going to type it in. 4.512. Alright, I got two verts that are relatively right next to each other, so... Oh man, did I screw up? Crap. I might have to bring this one back in, because I goofed this one up bad. Almost too bad. So, basically what happened was I did have a vert there that I didn't realize it before I cut it, because it was just how I adjusted this end. And that's probably seriously going to mess up. Let me see if I can snap. Oh, son of a gun anyway. Okay, let me try and bring this up. Maybe it's not. Let's check it here. Yeah, okay, so there we go. There we go. I think I can still work with this though. The only thing is, what I would do is move, shoot. Alright, let me see how I can fix this. This mapping is going to definitely have to be redone, that's for sure. No doubt about that. Question becomes, what do I need to move this one or this one out? Yeah, so I think I can get away with just moving this out. The fact that those are that close together, I don't like that. I should have checked that before. Yeah. That is my bad. I wonder if I can delete that vert without it causing a problem. Let me see. I don't like how those are that close together. Yeah, because that one was already there when I did the cut. And I should have snapped the cut when I did this, as I did here. So that's, and I don't think it's going to work if I was to snap either one of these to each other. In fact, let me try that really quick. Let's put it on vert snap. Whoops. Maybe that might not be too bad. That might work. I can deal with that. And then, just like I said, I'll have the mapping's gonna have to be redone anyway. So, yeah, don't pay any attention, I guess, to how that mapping is. That's gonna have to be redone. Now that we got this conformed to our track geometry. Okay, so let's turn that off. Now, I've already taken into consideration that the mapping is going to have to be redone. That is 100% a fact. Okay. So, we got both of those conformed to the track geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Yeah, because I can always bring in back in the original, either the bus stop or the chicane by itself if I need to start over. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as a scene, as in itself, its own scene. So we're going to do, yep, I already got it here, bus stop and chicane, so do that. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this. Now we're going to do some retexturing here. We're going to reapply our texture to this to conform to better represent, I guess, what this it's conformed to now, because right now it's not jacked out of shape. Okay, so let's apply an unwrap. Oopsie. Sure, let's do that. Let's do unwrap modifier. Okay, hopefully you're all still with me. I haven't dropped any more frames. That's good. Crossing my fingers. Alright, so now I got to unwrap to this. I'll open that editor and apply this. We're going to stretch this open a little bit. So now you can see our texture. Now, like I've said earlier, what I'll probably find necessary, because I don't need any of this. I mean, it's no big deal that all this is in here. But the only thing that's really being used is this portion right in here. So, okay. It is it would create a lot of wasted space as far as the texture goes if I was to just remove like all this SAT image and just maintain that. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm just going to get lazy. Whether or not I'll clean that up again later, that's okay. So now we can see our wire in here as far as what we got going on. What I could probably do is straighten up these lines, and I think that will take a lot of the wonkiness. Yeah, I'm completely top down. At least I'm hoping that's the case. Let's zoom in on this. So if I render this, let's try that too. Let's render this. You can see the wonkiness in these lines. That's from trying to conform it, and that's talking about earlier as far as I would say to lock the model to the mapping so that it doesn't do this. And pretty positive there is a way to do that, but kind of eludes us at the moment. So yeah, you can see all that non-conformity. You can see all these aren't straight as they should be. If I show the original texture, these are all straight. You don't have all that wonkiness in there. Granted, this still needs to be cleaned up too. This isn't final either. This is just to kind of get somewhat of an idea to get that. Let's see if I still got that picture. I've got this one here. This is probably the closest. That's funny thing, it's directly out of iRacing screenshot that I found. That's the only thing I've been able to, in order to get a reference to it, because as far as the SAT images go, there has nothing I've been able to find to get that directly. It does have the shape of that as far as the curbings, but not that actual decal. So I've had to create that based on, yeah, like this image. As much as that's Alright, so we created, by doing all this, that's the render. Okay, so we can close that. What we created with putting these cuts in here, they're not straight. And I think that's part of the reason why we're getting a lot of that wonkiness. So what I'm going to try and do in this, go into vertex view and select this vert. Hello. Why is that not selecting the vert? There we go. So select that vert and this vert. Oh wait, I did that wrong. Gotta do a control. Hello. Brain fart. Alright, so let's do this, and then what I'm gonna do is straighten this way. I don't know if that's gonna screw it up or not. See, I may not want that. I want it to follow the contour, I guess, of that line. What's gonna happen here? Let's see. So that's probably not gonna work like I thought it would. Okay. If anything, what I could potentially do is just remove the mapping and start over. That's not even that hard. It's a simple object, so it's not really that incredibly hard. That's what I could do. But let's just see what we got here. Yeah, see, this is not working like I was hoping it would. Unfortunately. Trying to think. How to get that to straighten back out there, because when I did those cuts, I think what really goofed it up is I had that that vert still there, and when I snapped those together, that really goofed it up. So it's not really presenting as such. Oh, wait a minute, there's a break right here. Oopsie. Alright, hold on here. Yeah, there's a break right here. Ah, okay, hold on a second. I might have to do some surgery still. Where's that vert? Let me check that out. Alright, hold on here. Yeah, we definitely got a break in the wire right here between this one and this one. I thought that's what I just snapped. So maybe I didn't snap that properly. So let's see if that... We should be able to see that directly in the viewport here. Man, I think I goofed that up pretty good, actually. It's not really showing. It's, as far as I can tell, that's snapped. So why it's not... wonder why it's so wonky in the, this is new to me. The fact that this is off, clearly off. I don't know if I can snap this. Let me try. If I put this on a grid snap, if I do that, how does that do? Can we put this top down? Still looks wonky. These lines aren't straight. Okay. Let me zoom out of that. So we got that snapped at least. Yeah, for as simple of an object this is, I wouldn't think it would be that difficult. But it is. Okay. I don't really know how to get rid of this wonkiness in here at this point. Oh man. Thinking. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I am thinking about how I can adjust that. I've already tried to straighten it that way. I don't want to straighten it here. There's got to be a way around that. The only other way I can think of is be just to move. Here, let me bring this up here. This might be kind of hard to show as far as the edit window. Let's see how this, if we do this here. What I could basically do, and I think that's what I will try and do. This is really going to throw it out of whack, probably, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to select all the polys, and I'm going to redo. No, I guess I don't have it in there. I was going to do just a quick planner, and that's going to jack it up, which is fine. Yep, and then just reconform it. Yep, let's try it this way. Hopefully this will correct. Hopefully. Okay, the fact that it's got all this in there, I might have to try to do a flattened map. Let's do Control-Z, bring that back. Okay, so that was just a quick planner, which does it this way. I'm going to try to do a flattened map. Okay, I don't think that's going to work. Let's try a normal map. So neither one of those is satisfactory. So I think the quick planner is probably going to be our best option, which is this one. Okay. Alright. Why that's not lining up properly, that's beyond me. This is lining up pretty good. This side is not. Okay, I guess maybe it does. Okay. Never mind. That's better. There we go. Now I think we got it now, folks. Yeah, so I just have to reapply. As a quick planner seems to be the best option. Just conform it around that shape. Okay. Now, I'm not concerned with how this texture is presenting itself, you know, as far as where the walls are going over the wall. That's just, I'm not worried about that. The fact of what I am worried about is how this is going to show, because this right here is going to be on the line, so this is how it's going to look. Because this line here represents the edge of our steel wall. So this is how it's going to show. So now I can just clean up these edges. This actually looks a lot better now that I've done the mapping that way. Cubanes, and it's contoured to the shape of the geometry. So I'm just going to clean up this edge. Looks like about the only place I need to adjust. Okay, that's simple enough. Yeah, so the fact that, you know, I've got the wall here and I've got my actual shape, you know, then this decal or this design is over top of that. I'm not concerned about that. It's really how it presents on this model here that I've got created that's going to go into the simulation, into the track itself, as far as Sandbox is concerned. Okay. This is just more or less for to get an idea of how to design that decal as far as the red, white, and blue. But it is presenting exactly the way I expect it to and the way I need it to on here. It's perfect. You know, because like I said, if I was to eliminate all the sat image behind it and just isolate just the red, white, and blue, then that would be the texture, really, because that's the only area that's being used on it. Alright, so let's go ahead and adjust this edge. I think I'm going to try and keep that there, but I'm going to suck this in a little bit. So let's go into vert mode, like this. Bring that in. I got it on grid snaps, that's why it's doing that. Hello. There we go. Whoops, I'm going to have to turn the grid snaps off. We don't want that. So I just want to clean up this edge here. Just a little bit. You can see how I'm adjusting that there. So if I zoom in on this, trying to eliminate all that junk that's on the edge there. Okay, I think that's right. Let me check this in the viewport. Oh, you know what? Oh, I thought maybe that was too low. Why is it still showing? Let me render this really quick. Why is it showing so much outside of that? That's weird. Weird, okay. Let's try and adjust that a little more. Huh. Yeah, I don't know why that's doing that. It's not showing that much on here as it is in here. Why is that? Why is that? Okay, what's going on here? That's not even adjusting that. Okay, I'm confused. It should be, when I adjust this in here, it should be adjusting here, and it's not doing that. Something's wrong. Weird. Hold on a minute. Why is that not moving? Huh. Okay, hold on a second. That is weird. I don't understand why that's not adjusting. Now, oh, you know what? I bet you I know what it is. It's flipped. I bet you if I go on this end, let me see here. As far as in the UV, it might be flipped. Maybe? Let me check here. It's a second here. So if I go... Yeah, but it's showing that selected. What in the heck? Yeah, that's a 1-for-1. So that's... This is selected. You can see that selected in the viewport, so that should be the right side. Or the proper side. Why is it not moving, though? That's weird. Yeah, so if it was flipped, if I had this selected here, it would necessarily show the vert selected over here. And that's not the case. So I'm just to the point now, I'm trying to figure out why in the heck that's not adjusting. What did I do wrong? Alright, hold on here, folks. Yeah, see, now I can see it moving there, but why is it not... Is this another one of those situations where I got one that's underneath it? And I didn't snap something? Something's happening. Is there another vert here that I'm not... I can see it moving, but it's not sucking that in there like it should be. Let me try something here. I'm going to hold. Is there another vert down here that I'm not seeing? Nope, it only shows one vert there, so what the heck is going on? I'm confused. It's not flipped, as best as I can tell. Wow, this is... my mind's boggled at this point. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know why that's not adjusting. Let's go back into the unwrap here. I'm just not 100% sure why this is not adjusting. Alright, let's go back in here. Which vert is selected? I've got that vert here, okay. But it's not selected here. What the heck? Wow. I'm dumbfounded here, folks. I'm not sure what the heck's going on. I got a rogue vert somewhere, it seems. Because I've got this vert selected in the viewport, clearly, but it's not selected in here. Oh my goodness, what the heck? Crying out loud, I don't understand what's going on. I don't see one. Unless, maybe there is, I'm not sure. Something's not snapped there or something. It's clearly evident to me that I've got this vert selected here as far as the unwrap, but yet it's not highlighted in here as it should be, which is the... What the heck is going on? I'm lost. Okay, so if I select this here, I can see it somewhat adjust. If I do this, I'm going to bring this over. See, I can see it moving, but it's like there's a different... What the heck is going on there? That is odd. Holy smokes, alright. I'm trying to figure out how I can get around those, because that's only seems to be the only area that's doing that. It's almost like the vert itself might be flipped. I've never heard of that before. I've heard of old polys being flipped, but not just the vert. That is weird. Oh, I don't even know how to fix that. That's crazy. The only thing I can think of would be just to go ahead and try to redo the mapping. So if I go into polys, select all that. I'm going to try to reapply this mapping. Alright, so let's do this. Yeah, all the polys are selected. And then do quick planner again. Okay. I don't know if by doing that is what screwed it up or what the deal is, but let's try this again. Okay. Bring this over here. Yep. Okay, so let's see how that worked. Try this again. So if I go into verts, alright, let's see if that moves now. Now I got a one-to-one there. I got that selected and selected there. So something happened. Nope, that's still not moving. What the heck? This should be adjusting much the same as it is in my editor here as it is here. It's not doing that. I don't understand that. What the heck? That makes no sense. Wow. I honestly don't even know how to adjust that. I've never had that happen before as far as, like, it's almost like this one particular vert is flipped or something because it's going from this direction instead of this direction. So I don't know if I can flip. I don't get that. So this is moving properly. What is with this one vert though? That's just crazy. I don't get it. Let's see. Let's see, I got that to conform a lot better. Alright, let me select all the polys again. Get this down here. I think I ended up bringing this end up as opposed to this one down. Okay. Alright, so let's do that. I've never had that happen with a vert, one single vert, I guess out of the... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Okay. So now let me just move this vert. Now this one clearly does move and it adjusts properly. So you can see that moving. So that's proper. This moves. This is the only one that does not adjust the same. Why is that? That is strange. It's just this one darn vert. It does not want to adjust much the same as the rest of the other verts. Very strange. I've never had that happen. I don't even know how to adjust to that. This is all good here. Okay. So, I guess for the time being, we're just going to leave that like it is. Because I have no clue as to why that's one vert's doing that. I've never had that problem. That's new to me. It almost seems like this one singular vert seems to be like inverted, like flipped. You know, similar to, I guess, like a whole poly would be. Because it's when you adjust it, it's like adjusting from the wrong direction. So I don't know if I can if there's a way to flip that. For now, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to try to beat a dead horse on this. And just leave it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and save this scene over again. Yep, save it over that. Cool. Now, what I'll need to do is I'm going to create probably two separate text files that'll put the coordinates for these two before I zero each one of them out. So what I want to do is I'll go to the chicane here and hello, why is it not selecting it? So if I go to chicane, there we go. These translates here, we're going to need that information based on the conformity that we've just now applied to this model. We're going to need these translates to put those potentially into the track itself. So what we need to do is create a text document and translate those coordinates. Now I can do one of two ways. I can do it in a text document, which I have done before, or I can just take a snapshot of this. What works better, what I've come to find, is to do it in a text document, only because if you wanted to take those coordinates and put them directly into the object view of Sandbox, you can just copy those from the text. Whereas if you do it as just a snapshot of this area, you can't do that. You'd have to manually type it in. So to kind of save yourself some time, I've found it easier, just through experience, I guess, to create a text document. So if I just do a new text document, and then I'm going to name this one as Roval Chicane. Okay. Like so. And then it'll put that, keeping it all the same name, I guess, is what I've got. So it's all uniform, I guess, in that fashion. Okay. So now if I go ahead and copy that information from the chicane, because we're going to need that information, I'm going to copy this and paste that into the new text document. Like I said, that's going to become useful later on when we go to try to put the object into there. And you can go ahead if you want. I'll just put these in here like so, and then just tab over, and then you can put the X, Y, Z on there. That's up to that's your choice. I've gotten into the habit I don't really need to, because I kind of know that it's, if I put it in that same order, that one's X, the first one's X, next one's Y, and the other one's Z. So you might find it necessary to go ahead and put like a header on top of that XYZ so you know what they are. Okay, so we're going to do a copy, paste that into here. We're going to tab this over, paste that there. So that's XYZ, so I'm going to save that. And with it named that way, I know exactly what those coordinates are for, so that when I go to reference it later, I'll know exactly where to look. So I'm going to make another text document and name this one Roval. Whoops. Helps if I spell it right. Bus stop. I kind of abbreviated that too. I removed one of the S's, so it's kind of like bus stop instead of bus stop. Okay, so open that up, and now I can just kind of give it a little bit of room. Let's go over to this one, and we need those coordinates. Make sure I'm on the right or the proper deal there, which I am. So we'll copy those translates into our text document here. So that's our X. Tab over. Copy that. Paste that. Tab over. Whoops. One more time. There we go. And get that Z. So that'll be... There we go. So I'm going to save that. And then we'll need that later on, like I said. One of the other things I do want to do now is go ahead and collapse this down to remove, drop it down, I guess, to a distendable mesh at this point, because we'll just need to use the 3ds for that. We can always bring this unwrap UV modifier later. It'll still maintain the mapping. It doesn't remove the mapping, it just removes it from the rollout. So we can do collapse selected. So what that does, like I said, is bring it to a distendable mesh. This one's at a poly, but that's fine. Doesn't matter at this point if it's at a mesh or poly, so we don't need to do anything to it at this point. Now what I want to do is eliminate everything but, let's see, how do I want to do this? I want to try and do these one at a time. The fact that I got these two in the same scene creates a little bit of an issue, because I don't want, here, let me unhide anything that's hidden. So like this one I need to bring out. So I only want, at this point, just the chicane, for example. I don't want the geometry, I don't want anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I need just the Roval chicane visible. So I'm going to delete everything else. Okay. Now, I've already have it saved, keeping that in mind. So in case anything goes wrong in these steps here, I still got something to fall back on. So what I need to do here, now that I got all those coordinates that I need, I'm going to need to zero this out. And you can do that very easily, and I've shown this in shortcuts, is just to do a right click on each of these coordinates like so. Puts that right at 0. So that's what we want. So the name of this is fine. Now what I'll do at this point is just export this out as a 3ds. So I'll navigate to the folder to which we've been working out of. 3D Mesh, Charlotte Roval, and we're going to create this as a 3ds. Okay, and I'm going to name this as Roval, keeping it all uniform to what we've already got as far as naming conventions go. So we'll do Roval chicane. And then because I've got all these other files named relatively the same, it gives me options here. I don't want to select any of those, but it'll kind of give me an idea of how I'm naming those. You know, just got to keep them uniform. Okay, so 3ds, yes, I want to maintain those, and it's just going to tell me don't worry about this, because the naming conventions for 3ds it can only have so many characters in it. So it's just telling it's renaming it. You don't need to be concerned about that, because when we convert it into a pass file, the pass file prior to getting it to a 3DO will maintain the original texture name. And I've already gone over that before in the past, so that's kind of just a brief little summary on that. So now, just to confirm that we have our 3ds that we just created right here, and it's all named properly. So now I'm going to do a Control Z until I get everything else back. Okay. That should be good to go. Now what I want to do is isolate just the bus stop. Okay, so I got everything out here. So I want to do, just kind of highlight all this and leave just the Roval bus stop. So I'll highlight that, delete everything else. So that's all everything that's in here. Same thing, want to zero this out. So I got all them coordinates already saved in that text document. Okay, it's already been collapsed. And the fact that it's in a mesh as opposed to a poly is not an issue. You can have it either way as far as exporting out the 3DS. Okay, so now we go export. And we're already in that location. So we'll just do a Roval. And you can name these however you want as far as the fact that I'm using these particular names. It just makes sense to me as far as the build that we're trying to do. What you decide, I guess, as far as to make it, what names you want, that's up to you. But make it a name that makes sense and keep them somewhat uniform so you don't have to go all over in your working folder. Just kind of make it easier on yourself, I guess what it boils down to. So I want to name this as bus stop, which is with only one S. Bus stop. Alright, so there we go. Save that. I want to preserve, and it's going to bark at me again as far as it's going to rename it. Don't worry about it. Not concerned with that, so just make sure, just confirm that we did that. So we're good. Good to go. Alright, so now we got our 3DS, and now we'll have to, now that we have the 3DS, we can import that into our Max 5. Anything up to, for what we're trying to build this for, up to Max 7 has been confirmed to work without any problems. The fact that I'll be using Max 5 to use the pass export to potentially get it into a 3DO so that we can apply it to our track. So that seems like a lot, but it's really very simple. It's not, once you have all that all that work done, at least anyway. So what I'm going to do in this case is go ahead and reset this and close out of this. We're done with this for now. So what we need to do at this point is open up Max 5, and I'll do that right now. We go ahead and minimize this. Something else I will probably try to end up doing as I move along here is I want to resave those particular objects once I've confirmed that they're conformed right to our track geometry. I want to make those separate into, as far as the bus stop and the chicane, so if they're in their own scene file, and I'll make that as a secondary to what my initial build of those two objects were. So I don't want to step on the original scene files that I created the models with. In other words, these models that I have here that are individualized in these scenes, I want to create a secondary scene. Once I've confirmed that, once I create the 3DO and get it into the track, and it's all lines up with the geometry fine, I want to open those up individually as far as our save scene that we did with both the chicane and the bus stop in there in this case, and then create a new scene with two new individual ones that are totally separate from the original. This is going to give you a lot more flexibility, so like if you find any problems down the line, like I had that issue with that one vertex with the mapping on the bus stop. If that necessarily presents itself as a problem once I bring the model into the track, that's going to probably create the necessity to may have to go all the way back to my original scene, bring it into that merged with the track geometry and so on, and start all over again. Okay, so that's going to save you a little bit of time instead of doing it, going way too far back. So again, it's just a matter of saving yourself some time and making it easier on yourself as far as to have to create. I mean, it's a relatively simple model, don't get me wrong. Some might necessarily argue the fact that it's like, well, it's not a big deal, I can just create that all from scratch again. But I like to save myself some time, to be honest. I don't like to necessarily keep and I'm dropping more frames. That's lovely. Hope everybody's still here and I haven't lost anybody. I don't know why it is. I'm up to almost 10,000 drop frames over the course of the stream. It's just ridiculous. Unbelievable. Okay, so let's go ahead and load up Max 5. This will take a minute or two. Okay, I'm just checking things out here, making sure everything's copacetic as that's loading. Yep, this is going to bark at me. This is just based on the plugins for the pass import and export. I should say export for the most part. Alright, so okay, this is all loaded. Good to go. Alright, so now what I can do is import our 3ds files that we created earlier, not too long ago. So we'll go in their folder to where those are located. In this case, this folder. And I'm going to put this in detail. Not sure why it went in that format, but we'll switch this to detail. Make it a little bit easier. And then these are the two 3ds files that we created. So I'm going to open up the chicane first. And I want to completely merge, replace the scene and do not convert units. Because we already got the units applied in meters. That's what we need for this. So this is our model. And I've preached this over and over again before, and I'm going to say it again. Prior to doing the pass export, even though the mapping is here in the model, as far as what's here, and this is a real simple model, you always want to make sure that you apply the texture before pass export. If you don't do that, it's going to create a generic texture applied to your model. So when you go to try to put it into your track, even though you've got the texture to which you want to have applied to it, to which the mapping is conformed to and so on, it's going to create that general, that generic texture to, you know, as far as the internals, I guess, of the object itself to which you have pass export. So bottom line is make sure that your texture is applied prior to pass export. That's the main moral of this here. Cannot say that enough. Okay, so with the model loaded, I'm going to make sure that it's named, and it did step on the name of that because of so I'm going to go ahead and just apply this, because the pass export doesn't necessarily maintain as far as whatever you name it. It's just the 3ds format. It's got a certain naming convention, so I'm going to go ahead and just rename this to what I want it on the mesh. Okay, so I'm going to confirm that, and then go into the material editor just by depressing the M, or go up into your your menu here as far as your material editor. So you can either press M or just go into this menu and then apply your texture by click of the diffuse bitmap, even though it is a TGA, and then navigate to your folder where you got your texture. This is from a previous yep, that's from a previous use of that. So I gotta go to that folder. I got lots of folders. Charlotte 18. Alright, so our texture that we need is, this is for the chicane. So I need the TGA for that because it has the alpha channel. Another good point. So it should have this selected here. If you don't see this image alpha in here, then you've done something wrong. You got to recreate your texture to make sure you have the image alpha, because we want to have transparency. We have transparency in this texture to apply this on this model. Okay, so that's all good. We're going to apply that to our model like that, and we can double check to make sure that that is what we want. Now all this pink area, this is what is going to be transparent. This is not going to show once we bring our model into our track, and we'll see that here and very shortly. Okay, so all that's done. Now from this point, with the texture applied and everything looks good, we rename the model mesh, the mesh model. Now we can export this out as a pass file. And this is for our racing simulation to which we're trying to apply this model to. So let's navigate to that folder here and this one here, and then I want to do pass file. This is the whole point of going into this program. So I got other pass files that are in here. This one I want to name roval underscore bus, or this one's chicane. Okay, and again it'll populate all the names because just to kind of keep it all uniform as far as that. So that's good. Don't select any of these because you want to maintain the file to which you're trying to save, export in this case. Okay, so that spit that out there. So I'm gonna confirm that saved. That's right here. So here's our pass file. That's what we're going to need. So we're good. We're done here. Now, I've shown this before too. As opposed to resetting the whole 3D Max over again and having to re-navigate back to that folder, it's still already in cache. You know, as far as like it's already populated in there. So just to save yourself a little bit of time, instead of resetting the entire scene, as far as the disco reset, just go ahead and delete what's in your scene like this. Now when you go ahead and import, it'll still be in that same location. So you don't have to re-navigate back to that folder. That's just saving you some time. Now we need to open up the bus stop, and we want to merge this time. Okay? As opposed to completely replace the scene. So what that does is it's still maintaining that location, that file location, to where everything's going to, where you're trying to extract it from. So again, the model comes in without a texture, which is normal. And I'm going to go ahead and just maximize this so we can see. Bring up the material editor. And you're still going to have this one in here. Now, you can do one of two things. You can either apply your texture to the same sphere, which I'll do, or you can pick another sphere. It doesn't matter. But in this case, I'll go ahead and just replace, I guess, what we got here. And again, we're still in that same location without resetting 3D Max altogether. We're still in that same location, so we don't have to re-navigate. So it saves you a bunch of time as far as doing it that way. So we need to get the Roval bus stop. In this case, we need the TGA, because that's the one that has the alpha channel. Okay, and again, if you don't see this image alpha selected as when you first initially bring the texture in there, then there's something wrong. You need to make double check your texture to make sure it's has an image alpha in it as far as a transparent channel. Okay, so we're going to apply this to our model. So there we go. And again, I'm going to have to rename the texture, or the model, the mesh model, because it stepped on that because of the 3ds format. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just back this up a little bit and just do bus stop. Okay, so that's good. So our texture's applied. Name of the model mesh, the mesh model, is good to go. And you can always render this too, just to kind of if you so choose, just to kind of look at how that actually looks. I think it's still got a little bit of wonkiness in the lines there, but I think once I clean that that texture up there, it might look better. You know, because I don't have the transparency going in between the lines and all that. I still got some of the, and the fact that this still exists here, that bugs me. That one vert, as far as the mapping is concerned. I'm not sure what's causing that, so I might have to look into that. That has never happened to me before, and I'm not sure how to fix that. So, if anything, I'll, you know, if it doesn't present itself as far as a fix for that prior to the end of the stream, I'll have to investigate that and see what the appropriate fix is for that, and I will let everybody know. But for now, we're going to go ahead and do this. We got our texture applied to rename. We're going to go ahead and export our pass. So do export. We're still in that same location. Okay, this one I want to do Roval bus stop. And again, you'll see all the different names that you have there to confirm all conformity of your file names. I like to keep most everything that I'm working on name relatively the same. It just saves from having to jump all over the folder. You know, as far as like, well, where'd that go? See, this right here I don't need. This one's old, so I'll have to remember to throw that out. I'll probably do some cleanup post stream, just to clean that up there, so I don't have rogue stuff I don't need really. But so far, everything that we've got in here that we're going to need. So this is primarily, and a lot of this stuff here I have consolidated into folders themselves, just to kind of keep it unique, I guess, to what's going on here. So this is for the pit wall. This is for the infield object, all the files associated with that, so on. So eventually, that's probably what I'll end up doing with these models. Once everything's said and done, I'll probably create another subfolder eventually and put those files in there so that they're kind of separated from everything else. That'll be done post case. So, all right. So everything's. Oh, I wanted to confirm that that pass file is there. So Roval bus stop 3ds, and here's our pass. So we're good. So we can go ahead and close out of this. Do you want to? Yes. Whoops. My bad. Did that wrong. Let's do a reset, do a no, and yes. And then I'm just going to close out of that. We're done with that. Now to this point, what we can do is take this pass file, as well as the texture that's applied to it, which is in TGA in this point. Now you can do one of two things. You can also apply the MIP file to it, which is going to be used once it gets put into the track as well. You don't need that. The only thing is, as long as you've got the raw file, in this case the TGA, which has the alpha channel in it, the transparency, that's the only thing we really need to apply to our Make 3DO utility, which is going to create our 3DO. And we don't have any scripting to it. We don't want the object to be, we can necessarily if we wanted to. If we wanted those objects to be turned off in the game itself by depress of the O key, say for example, as far as a population switch, you could apply a script to those models. The way I'm going to do this, I'm going to showcase this or present this even, is we're not going to put any scripting to it, so it's going to stay static. It's not going to be able to be turned off. It's going to stay there. And my philosophy behind that idea is because it's still considered geometry. These two objects that we're creating, it's still considered geometry of the track. Hence the reason I don't find it necessary, I guess, to have the capability of turning it off. You can necessarily decide to script that to have them be able to be turned off. But because it is a part of the actual racing surface, and it does create the visuals, I guess, to outline even where the racing surface is at, and as far as my logic behind it, doesn't create the necessity to have to do so that's by choice. So with all those files, we got everything we need there. We're already pointed. Here's the command prompt that you need. It's already pointed to that directory. Okay, so all I need to do at this point is just to call up the Make 3DO utility, which is this application. And you can't click on this directly. It has to be done through command prompt. That's probably another fair mention. So as long as you're in that directory to where that utility exists, now all I have to do is to call up the utility, which is Make 3DO -p in this case, because it's a pass file, not a script. Otherwise you do is a -s, and then the name of the pass file. In this case I'm going to do roval _bus stop _ and it's the same name as the pass file itself. So roval _bus stop and do .pas, and we don't have any other parameters for it. We don't have any reflection map, anything of that nature. This is all we need, so we can just push enter. And what that does is it spits out the actual 3DO. And if you have the 3D SimAd utility, you can click this open even with the TGA, and there's your model. Now you'd never want to go by how the model looks in 3D SimAd. You want to get it imported into the track via Sandbox and look at it that way, as well as in the sim itself. You never want to go by how it looks in here, because it's almost entirely never the same. So just this is a fair mention. So this is our rough decal that we got here. We do have some cleanup on the texture to do for sure, but for now this is going to give us at least the makeshift of it for starters. You know, once we clean up the texture on it, it'll make it look nice and pretty. So there's that one. Now we can do the for the chicane. So we'll bring up the command prompt here again. Now I'm going to go ahead and just type in Make 3DO -p, and this time it's going to be roval _chicane and .pass. We don't have any other parameters. Push enter, and now it spits out that 3DO. So once again, I can click this open. If you got the 3D SimAd utility application, there's that. Now there's going to be some pink probably showing up on the edge there, and that's to be expected. I could probably clean that up later on, but there's our object. So we've got our transparency, but again, 100% can't stress it enough. Don't ever want to go by how the model actually presents itself in 3D SimAd. And get it loaded, get it imported into the track itself via Sandbox, and look at it that way, as well as in the sim itself. That's going to be 100% what you're going to get here. But so far, this is looking good. As far as it's got our transparency on it. Granted, we have a little cleanup to do on our edges, but I kind of figured that was going to be the case. But for the most part, that's pretty good. It's looking fantabulous so far. Alright, so we got our two objects now. So now I'm going to take these, I'm going to cut these from here. And for starters, I'm going to go ahead and at least just paste these into our track here. And what we'll have to do also is create MIP files for this, because that's what the simulation needs to read those textures. So that's what I'm going to do now. I got our WinMip2 utility open right here, and I'm already pointed to that directory to which we have our texture, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the TGA for it. I do have the bitmap for it too prior to making the TGA, but I want to use that because I want to make sure it maintains the transparency, the alpha channel within that, and I already have that right here. If you see this pink in here, or whatever color that you've chosen for your transparency, that'll show in here automatically when you open your TGA. If that's good to go, then all you need to do is create MIP, and in this case I don't need to change any other parameters. I don't need to change the map type. If it was a repeating texture, I guess as far as vertical or horizontally, then we would have to, but the fact that this is just the way the texture initially presents itself here is all we need. So there's no other parameters need to be changed in this case. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this right in that directory, and then I can just pop those over to our track edit folder. Okay, so that one's saved. I can confirm that it has been saved because it should show up right there. Cool. Alright, so now we're going to open up the one for the chicane. So we need roval chicane, and we want to make sure we have the TGA. And one way, you, like I said, that you can tell is you'll have this invisible color. Will show whatever you've chosen prior to making your TGA itself through the WinMip2 utility. If you don't see this here, you got the wrong texture. Or you need to create a TGA so that you can create the MIP, so that it has that invisible color. So again, do a MIP. Don't need any other changes. Everything else should be good. No other parameters need to be changed, and just do a save like so, and then we'll close that, and then we'll confirm that that's saved in here. There we go. So now I'm going to take these two files and cut those out, paste those into our track edit, and eventually I'm going to end up taking these, once I've confirmed that everything's good to go, I'll put these in their own folder, you know, as far as the creation of it, so that it's separate. I have a separate set up a separate folder. It's just part of my process as far as to keep it separate, as far as what new items that have been created, I guess, for a given track build, so that I can always refer back to it, so I can immediately just go to that folder for this particular track build and just say, yeah, there it is, as opposed to going right to the track edit folder and be like, okay, where to go, and just have to look through all this. It's just a little quicker. It's just kind of my my OCD, I guess, that kicks in there. Okay, so with all that being done, now we're going to go into the track, and I've loaded this up here, and I kind of showed this earlier as far as how I was able to isolate those two areas, these objects that we created. So by putting this contrasting texture onto it, it creates this I want to say image, but that's not what I want to use. As far as when you export this out with these two textures applied, these contrasting textures applied to these areas, you're able to isolate those areas based on the export of the track geometry into 3ds Max. Okay, so that's just kind of summarizing back over again. So I don't need this one anymore, and I'm going to reopen. In this case, it's going to be refine. Yes, refine, bus stop, and chicane. That's the one I want. So we'll load this in. Now, from this point, we can bring in our two objects that we just created. So I'm going to start off with this chicane. See how we will line up here. So I'm going to go to do that. I got to go into object view since it is an object. Okay, and then once I got that, I'm in that view. Go to trackside object. Right click, add trackside object, and then just scroll down to that object. So in this case, it's roval chicane. So I got to look for that in the list. It's right here. Now, this is where those coordinates come in handy. I can loosely kind of displace this based on the bounding box, but this is where those coordinates that we saved in that text file come in handy. So now we can go back to Roval chicane, which is right here, and here's our coordinates. Now from this, I can just copy these right from the text file into the properties of this object. Make sure it's on fixed so you can do that. So this is for the X. Let's paste that into here. This is where it becomes convenient to have this in a text file as opposed to just taking a snapshot, a little snippet from 3ds Max, because you can't copy from a picture, you can from a text file. So that, again, it kind of saves you a little bit of time. So I can copy this value and paste this right into here, like so. And then we also need our Z. So go to the text file and get our Z. And again, you might find it necessary to put headers on this so you know this is X, Y, Z. Through experience, whatever, I just know. Once whatever order I put these in, I know this is X, this is Y, this is Z. That's just for me. So, alright, now that we got all those values, that should put that right in where it needs to go. So if we, there's our bus stop, or our chicane. So if I unhighlight that, that actually does not look entirely terrible. It might be a little bit off here, and that's what I kind of expected with the way it was presenting originally. Okay, let me see if I can zoom in on this. You can kind of see where the cones are as far as where that should be. So I am off a little bit, it seems. And I kind of expected that somewhat. But the fact that it looks pretty good as far as the... And this is why I said you don't want to go by how it presents it in 3D SimEd, because that pink that was showing on the edges there doesn't present itself here. So this is why you want to load it into the track as well as check it out in the sim itself to see how it actually looks. See, this actually is not too bad. I'm rather pleased with that, to be honest. Not too bad. Now you can, again, you can see where the cones are. This is where we line that up to our background image. So that kind of shows how much off it is. So yeah, so let me do this just to kind of show you the cones, which was our placeholder until we got this object in here, kind of is, let me bring this up here. So if I turn, whoops, I gotta go back to geometry, my bad. The only way I can do that, so if I turn this off, these cones line up exactly with this SAT image here. So even by going like this, I can see how much that's off. So if I bring this back on, so you can see how much that's just shifted this way. So this whole object necessarily needs to go this way. So that's probably adjustment I'll have to make within the original model itself. As far as initial placement, that's pretty darn good. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I was kind of not expecting it to be that close. But the fact that it is that close. Now, you might find it necessary to go ahead, and you could probably do that. That probably wouldn't be entirely terrible to do. What I would probably do is just keep this conformity, you know, as far as this translate, and just adjust the model itself within 3D Max. I'm going to have to take a closer look at how that actually, I'm going to have to look at, yeah, how that, because what I did was that basically this part here, that's all the asphalt here, that's what I used to shape this, you know, design this, you know, to get this model actually created. So the fact that it doesn't, and I think a lot of it does have to do with how I measured initially from Google Earth. I mentioned this earlier in the stream. How you measure in Google Earth as far as how, what size, I guess, your model that you're trying to create is. I think there might have been some error on my part there as far as where I actually measured in Google Earth in comparison. So that could be easily fixed by just rechecking measurements. But again, I would not necessarily take the approach of the way this is. You can see how much it needs to shift. I wouldn't. It probably wouldn't be a bad thing, but I wouldn't advise at this point to just go ahead and say, well, I'll just move it this way. I mean, you could do that for sure, but keeping in mind there's a lot of elevation information in this too. Okay, so that elevation data, as far as how we conformed it to that shape of the actual track geometry, if you remember going way back to when we first initially, you're going to upset that because this is a 3DO as opposed to geometry if you move it like this, because that's not going to conform the same way. And partially how I can show that, probably will present itself. Like if I just shift this over, you can already see, I can already start to see it's kind of lifted. Let's just take a look here. Yeah, see, this is definitely way further over than it needs to be, that's for sure. But let's just play with this a little bit. We'll see what's going on here. It may not be that bad. Now, probably one way that you can check it for sure is like if you were to go in, if I was to move this and check it in the sim itself, you could see if the tires are buried. If like half the tires, say for example, are buried in certain spots of this 3DO in comparison to the geometry, that's probably a better indication that you don't want to do it like this, and probably adjust the model in 3D Max directly to get it to line up properly. So let me go ahead and just for the sake of it, so you can see how that the geometry is clipping into that because I'm moving it. It's not conformed. As far as the way this model is conformed, it's not the same in this area as it is where it should be, as far as where I initially spawned it in, if you say. So, another good reason, that's probably a better indication as why you shouldn't do it this way. So what I'll probably do is just keep it at that same translate that I had. This is actually lining up a little better, with exception to this happening. The track geometry is actually clipping into that model. See, if anything, that's a really good indication as to why you don't want to move it like I just did. And adjust the translates within the 3D model within 3ds Max itself. Okay, so let me go ahead, for the sake of this, I'm going to reapply these translates to our model since I moved it, and I'm going to leave it there. And then I'll adjust the model. Whoops, I got the M in there. That shouldn't hurt anything, but I'm just copying all this back over, put it back to where it was, where it really needs to be. Okay. And just going back into the properties of the object. Okay. And I didn't adjust the height on it, so that's good. It was just the X and the Y. Okay. So I'm going to leave it right there. So when I make adjustments to the actual model in 3ds Max, it's going to adjust accordingly by leaving that translate there. So when I bring it back in after making the adjustments within Max itself, I can make, it'll shift naturally or organically itself that way. So I'm going to leave that just like it is. I kind of figured it was going to be off a little bit, and it might be the same deal with this here one too. So now this is going to be the bus stop, so Roval bus stop. Where are we at? Hello, where are you at? Bus stop. There we go. So bring that in. Same thing. So I'm going to bring those translates. I can close this one. That one's for the chicane. So now let's open up the one for the bus stop right here, and I'm going to copy those values. Okay, so we're going into the properties of this. Make sure it's on fixed so you can make those adjustments. Okay, copy that one. This one's the Y. You don't need the M. Even if you do copy that over to the properties here, you can always kind of step it out. I'll just back it out as far as to delete it, if you will. Okay, so we're going to copy this. This is the Z. And here we go. Paste. Hello, paste. There we go. So now that should put that where it needs to go. So if we bring up the sandbox, there we go. Actually, that looks pretty good. Let's step out of that. That's actually not half bad. Two things that I was concerned about was, and obviously the texture will get cleaned up, that's for sure. Two things that I was worried about as far as how close it would be to the wall if it was going to bleed into that and on this line. So it's actually not too bad. So let's pan the camera over there. We're off. We're actually not that bad. I mean, a little bit of adjustment, possibly, but not that terrible. Not that terrible at all. So let's just bring it over here. Yeah, so other than the texture being a little wonky, as far as the compression and all that stuff in there, we'll clean that up. That's not a big deal. But I'm liking the spacing in between the wall itself. It's maybe a little bit off here, but it's not too terrible. A little bit of adjustment. Again, that's going to rely on... I need to figure out what's going on with that vertex that's in this area, because it was not letting me adjust that at all. I don't know what's up with that. So that's something I'm going to have to investigate, like I said. Because I was trying to get this this one vertex that's right here, as far as the mapping, it would not let me close this up here. So there's obviously an issue there, so I'll have to figure that out. But as far as it being 100% conformed to the track, it looks pretty good. It's basically slapped right onto the... It's contoured very nicely to the track itself. It's not clipping anywhere. That's good. It's not lifted, that I can tell. Can't see underneath it. So it turned out pretty, for an initial placement, as far as, initial go at it, it turned out pretty good. I am pleased with it overall. And again, like I said, the texture will get it, it'll get cleaned up to where it'll have transparency in between each of the colors and all that, and it won't have as much compression to it. Because right now it's got some compression to it, which is creating that the pixelation in it. That'll all get fixed. So now the fact that we've got this visual in here now, as you're coming down this is something that what has prompted me, I guess, to do this. As you're coming down here, it's going to give you more of a visual to be like, oh shit, I gotta go turn, because you see that decal. Now, one of the other things that does exist on the track is another decal on the apron here. I think I still got that. Yeah, there's another decal that's here. That's something else we can create. That's relatively flat there as well. I shouldn't say as well, but it is pretty flat there, so that shouldn't be too hard to get that made. I might save that for next time. As for right now, the only other thing that would need to be done, and we'll make sure that this gets cleaned up first, is to apply the curbing onto that. Now, whether or not I want to apply the curbing actually to this object itself, or to go ahead and create that separately, if I go back into the geometry, I have this designed to where it could potentially put X sections in here so that we can create the actual curbing. So we can apply an X section here and actually create a curb, if you will, to outline, I guess, this area. So whether or not I put the red the red and white alternating, that curbing like it is here, if I put that on this actual decal texture as far as this itself, or if I actually apply that as a separate texture, I guess, to create a 3D curb, I haven't 100% decided yet. So I'm gonna kind of stew on that a little bit to see what actually would be more conducive, I guess, to do that. I had thought initially just by creating a new X section in here and create the actual curb, but when I consider that, if you can kind of get an idea here, the only way I would be able to put an X section is like through here, which is kind of further away from this actual decal. So there would be a little bit of a gap, between where the curbing is, as opposed to how it actually is. It's like right on top of the decal. It's like right next to the edge of that decal. So that's part of the reason why I tend to not want to apply an actual 3D curb and just go ahead and just create a, like a flat red and white alternating curbing right on the edge of this decal instead. I haven't 100% decided. Not really sure. I think it would make sense to actually put some type of curbing in there, because there is, pretty obviously there is curbing there. Even if I look at the realistic picture here, you can see there's actual 3D curbing on this, so this gives you a little better representation. So you can see this is where the original painted line is right here that they painted over to get that decal in there, and that's actually what exists here. So what I have here is I don't have it going as far, because where these cones are is actually, let me go ahead and do this. The cones actually represent this line, so the decal actually goes through this here. So I left room intentionally to leave room, I guess, to apply a potential 3D curb along this here. Whether or not, again, if that's going to be conducive, I don't know, because I would have to put it here as opposed to, yeah. So if I bring that back really quick, you can see this decal would necessarily need to come out all the way to these cones. So I did that intentionally, like I said, to leave room, I guess, to either do a 3D curb or just add to this model, you know, as far as the red and white. Yeah. So even as I say that, I'm just kind of thinking out loud at this point as far as what would make sense to do it, either as a separate decal with red and white alternating, and just make it a flat thing and not have the 3D curbing, or to actually apply 3D curbing on it. So I tend to lean more towards applying actual X sections in there to apply 3D modeling. I don't know what y'all think, and I do have room to do that, that's for sure. So like I can apply an X section here as well as here to put potential curbing here. The only thing, they might have a little bit of a void, because this is a straight section here. There might be a little bit of a void, like where it's curved here, because of the way these are designed. This might not be too bad here, but here I won't be able to curve this. I'd have to split that, and I want to avoid that as much as possible. I've practiced and preached. I'm gonna basically take my own advice as far as like trying to keep these splits to the track to a minimum, because the more you split it, the more you lose integrity of the track as far as film stripping, as I've mentioned. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your track segments as large and in charge, I'll just put it that way, as possible. You don't want to create little slivers if you can avoid it, because that creates film stripping and de-optimization of the track as far as how it frame rates and just overall playability, drivability even of the track. So I've been trying to keep that as much to a minimum. So I think the fact that we've got both these objects in here relatively pretty well, I'm somewhat satisfied with it. I mean, there's still some work to be done on it to clean the texture up and to get this one even conformed more properly, but I think that's a step in the right direction. I'm rather pleased that we got this in here. I think this can be adjusted, I think, easily enough. I don't know if I'm going to go through that. I'm going to keep this. I don't want to extend this too much in there, because it'll probably go in for at least another hour, and I don't really want to do that, to be honest. The stream has still been dropping frames. I got over 15,000 drop frames. I guess this is to keep everybody aware. It's been intermittent for sure, but I don't know if that's necessarily caused a problem for most of the viewers out there that are kind of lurking in the chat. Hopefully not, but I need to figure out what's going on with the internet for sure, as far as to see what's causing that. If it is just OBS doing that, just being a turd, or if it's just the actual internet that's causing that to do that. Because even as I talk, it's dropping frames. It's just ridiculous. So the two main things, the main things that I did want to present this evening was getting these objects in there and how to do that, and I have accomplished that, and that has been my main objective. So moving forward, what I'll probably end up doing off stream, and I'll share everybody the information as far as how I've gotten these adjusted appropriately as far as the texture of it, and just getting in a line more appropriately. I will inform everybody either in the Discord and or the tweeters, or even the Facebook group page, as far as the Spline Designs, as far as how that's moving along. But I did at the start of the stream, I had mentioned to all those what I have done to prep this, getting these two objects in there, as well as putting more visuals into the track, like the score tower, and this is only a placeholder. Can't stress that enough. This is just a placeholder, as well as this wall that's right here. This is between those decals that I get in here now, as far as for the chicane and the bus stop, as well as all this, is going to make it much easier for producing and developing the LPs, the race LP in particular, for use with the AI. We cannot move forward in getting it to function and operate as a full functioning track until we get that done. So in order to do that, that's why I wanted to save. And I kind of took a week off, I guess, to kind of collect myself and understand what was going to have to happen, and relay this information to you all as far as what I've found necessary to have to do to move this track forward. And I've just shown you just now, and I'm just summarizing at this point, I guess, as far as what. So the fact that we're to this point, we can clearly move forward. Like I said, I will keep everybody informed as far as getting this placed properly, and the bus stop over there, so that we can, going into the next stream, what I want to focus on is actually going back into the development of those the race LPs, be it especially the main race LP that we need for the simulation to work, so the AI will race the track, you know, more properly. Without all this stuff in place, it's going to make that much more possible. Alright, so with all this being done, I'm going to make sure I save this PTF. So I'm going to go back into geometry, and I want to bring back the world, so everything's in here. Man, that even looks good right there. That color just pops. So this decal, this other decal that I've got, that's something else that I mentioned in an earlier part of the stream too. This decal here, I intend to recreate that much the same fashion I've done this bus stop, so that it's more vivid, so it's not so dull. As far as just in this infield object, I want that to pop more, because that's, I've got a picture of that too, and I've kind of shown that before. It's very vivid. That's the best way I can describe it. Let me see if I got a picture of it. This deal right here. This one right here represents this same object, this same decal that's right here, and that's what I wanted. I want to remake that, and I've got that too, and I can kind of show that real briefly. Let's go into this. I've got that already made. This is something else that I've worked on the off time. So here's that decal, and this is based on a SAT image, so you can see how much more vivid that is in comparison. Now this is the one I've recreated, and I may not be 100% redone. This is the original. This is based on the SAT image. So the fact that this is what is showing on the infield object currently, I've taken that and chunked it out and actually created this this more vivid picture of it. So it's it'll conform a lot more to our decal here. So you can see the comparisons as far as like everything will pop really nicely. So we'll get into that at a later time there. That's still yet to be done. I do hope everybody does stop by, I guess, to go and see that happen. These are going to be the final touches, you know, these types of things. What we really needed to focus on is getting what is needed, I guess, to you know, create the appropriate visuals and what have you, so that we can make our create and develop our race LPs more efficiently, more effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I don't want to forget to do that. And I'm going to create this as instead of a refine, I'm going to add. Okay, I'm just going to change refine to add bus stop and chicane. Okay, so now I'll have that moving forward. That's what we'll use into the game itself. I would go ahead and I don't know, I guess I could probably still do that. I still got time. What I will do for you, and I've always tried to promise this, at least anyway, as far as to get whatever we've created, you know, be it these two objects in particular, and actually get it to load into the game, into the sim itself. So I can do that. I will not go against my promise as far as to try and provide that, you know, just to show you that these pieces that we've created are going to be going to populate into the sim, and we'll just go into testing mode. So what that saved, I'm going to confirm that that's saved, actually. So we got our refine, and we got our... where'd it go? Okay. Define, refine. Here it is right here. So this is one we just created. Yep. Perfect. So this is our new PTF. Now, I've said this before, and I'll kind of just briefly go over this. The only thing that you need to have in your, as far as to test it in the game, is what you've added to your PTF. Okay? You don't need anything additional. So the things that we've added, we're gonna, of course, is this PTF. So I'm going to copy that over. In fact, I'm going to have to open up our track folder here. So let's go into here. It's our game track folder. And we'll put that in there. So there's our track. This one we don't need. We've already tested. That was from the last time. So we'll paste this in here. We want to rename that PTF to the track folder name so that it does actually recognize it and load it. Otherwise the track won't load. So rename that. Paste. So we know that's exactly the name that we need it. The only other things that have been added that you may not be aware of, besides the two, the chicane and the bus stop, is the safer foam. So that's something else that was needed in order to make that bus stop object. So I need to apply not only this bus stop chicane, but also it should be in here. Yeah, the styrobrock. I need these two. That one is the two pieces of that's just a placeholder for now. That is actually applied to that PTF, so that is needed as well. Okay. But that should be the only things we need. We just copy these over to our track folder, like so. And those are all new items. Nothing's been replaced. We haven't adjusted anything else besides that. So our PTF is named the same. We got all the pieces that we've added to that PTF, so that track should load just fine. So now what I'm going to do is close this out. Now that I've confirmed that that's been saved, get completely out of that. Alright, and then what I'll go ahead and do is close all this out as well. Yep, don't need that. We're good to go. Good on that. Okay, this I don't think we should be good on that. I'm going to reload that chicane one just to make sure. I might have just lost some of my work. Let me check this. Nope, I'm good to go. Yep. So what I did here is I still have the original SAT image, and then what I did is basically just created a transparent behind it just to highlight just that area. So yep, I'm good to go on that. So do a close, do a no. Alright, so we'll close that out. Let's kind of do a little bit of cleanup here. So the make 3DO folder, we don't need that anymore. We've got all those files already saved. So all we did was copy those over. I'm going to delete those. We don't need that in anymore. Like I said, those are already saved already in our working 3D models. You know, as far as our track build here, those are already in here. So that's no harm, no foul. Alright, let's close that out. We don't need the WinMit 2. I'm just closing some of this stuff out. Yeah, I can leave that open. I'm going to close the command prompt. Kind of go some of the cleanup process that you would have, I guess, if you get into this type of stuff. This one I always like to do. Instead of doing the X, I always like to do the exit right in within the console itself. Just a habit. I don't like using the X. If it's got a exit feature, I guess, within the application, I like to use it instead of the X. Because I from experience, I've come to find it doesn't always close the program out completely if you just use the X up in the top right corner. Alright, so I'm going to leave that one open for now. Okay, so just give me a second here. I'm going to get the wheel set up, and we're going to try to test this thing in the game. Be right back. Alrighty, folks, we're back. Let's take a little bit. I didn't think really care to want to hear all that clunking and junking around. As far as alright, so now what we can do, let's go ahead. I'm still dropping frames. This is ridiculous. Hopefully I still got everybody. I didn't lose anybody. So let's go ahead and load this up. I got to get this set over to, yeah, still got this on Farm Sim from Friday. Whoops, I don't want that. Got to set everything up here really quick. So I can set that over to that. Set this over to that way. There we go. And we can launch this. There we go. Moment of truth. So, alright, so we're checking out the Manx 18 mod. In this case, we did. I'll go in the 19 mod. Why not? We got our car in that one there. So this is the latest and greatest from Slash and Go Graphics. I've been kind of plugging those guys out there because they've done a hell of a job on this latest mod, I guess, for NASCAR Racing 2003. To include, in this rendition, it has the Ford Mustangs in there. With all the other added amenities to it, like the new spoilers, the rear spoilers with the clear strip on the top and all that stuff. This is a phenomenal mod, so I'm happy to showcase, I guess, when I test the tracks out. Alright, so we're going to load this track up here. Here we go. Moment of truth. And it's loading, so that's a good sign. Very good sign. So there we go. There's the track is loading. Let's go ahead and confirm that we've got our setup, which we do. The setup have developed and have been using every time we test the track. It's been working very well. So let's go right to it. Alright, so let me switch this over to... Whoopsie, that's not what I wanted. I forgot about that. Switch that back over. Ah, for crying out loud. Oh, I forgot I got that set on my scene. That's not a big deal. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So the fact that I've got a lot of my F keys that the sim uses or whatever, that's part of some of my scene hotkeys. Ah well, I'll live with it. We don't really need it. So we got the track just loaded. So that's a good thing. We spawned into our pit stall, so that's good. So we're on the very first pit stall. So let's take a lap around this thing, what do you say? You can see all our new added amenities there. So this is pit exit here. You can see that decal already in the backstretch there. See how that pops nicely. So you can already see that over there. That'll look even better once I clean up the texture. Just taking a lap, quick lap around here. I showcase this out. Let's see the fact that you can overshoot a lot of these corners like that because of the way it's got open geometry. In fact, going this way you can't. Won't allow you to. That's by design. We'll just kind of go around here. This should be turn 8. Coming out of turn 8, this is 9 and 10. And then once we get into this bus stop here, that's turn 11. 11 and 12. Okay, so here's our decal. Much better representation of that. Okay, so that was turn 11 and 12. This is 13. Coming up to turn 14. Until we get to the chicane, which is turn 15, 16, and 17. So here's this at. So here's turn 15, 16, and 17. And then going back into turn 1. So that's your 17 turns of the track. So this is turn 1. Coming on the right side of that score tower. And that white painted line. This is coming into turn 2. Actually, that was turn 2 back there. This is turn 3. Here's turn 4. Coming up to turn 5. After the straightaway. Here's turn 5. Quickly up into turn 6. This is turn 6. Turn 7. And getting back onto the main oval is turn 8. So here's turn 8. Come back onto the main oval, and this goes into turn 9. Here's turn 9. And just prior to the back straight of the main oval, that's turn 10. Now we're going into turn 10. Coming up to the back straight. As we come up to turn 11 and 12. And back up to 13 again. And so on and so forth. So this is coming up to turn 15. 15. 16 right here. And 17 coming back up onto the main oval. So there we go. So you can kind of get an idea a little bit of how this track flows. So let's take a look at, we haven't gotten cameras in here yet, and eventually we will do that. It's still using the default cams. That's something else, that'll be one of the finer details. So you can already see that there's a problem here. See the fact that we're burying underneath this object? That's already an issue. So we're going to have to make some adjustments to that. This is what I was talking about earlier prior to testing it out in the sim here. The fact that the car is actually buried within that 3D model. There's obviously some conformity issues there. Mostly at the beginning of that. See, you can kind of see there's a little bit of conformity issues there. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more. Yeah, see the fact that it kind of buries itself. The car kind of gets buried under that. That's an issue. So there's obviously some adjustment I'll have to make to that model because it's mostly on this end of that model. Seems like. So let's see if I can kind of step this back. There's a little bit of a dip right there, I notice. That's interesting. See the car kind of dipped there a little bit. So I might have to adjust some of that in the geometry itself before I actually go any further. And the exit of this doesn't actually look too bad. And don't be concerned too much with the grossness, I guess, of that texture, because that's not final. That's just to get some type of texture on that model. So yeah, don't be worried, I guess, about that. That'll get cleaned up and it'll look a lot better. So I can show that off a little bit. So at least that gives me somewhat of an idea, and everybody else out there keeping tabs, I guess, on this build as far as what we got left to tackle with this build. So the fact that everything loads fine, even with the adjustments that still need to be made with those objects that we just created, that's neither here nor there. That's going to be easily be done. That's not too big of an issue. Hopefully we can get into a lot of that next week. I shouldn't say hopefully, we will be, because we need to get it the track more buttoned up so we can create those LPs and get it that much closer, I guess, to being able to actually do a first initial race. Without having those LPs in there, can't move forward with it. So we've made some pretty good progress on it. I'm very thrilled with it. I hope as much as you guys are. And I'm looking forward, I guess, to getting this official race, I guess, on it next time. So feel free to tune in next week. I'm going to call it good, I guess, on this thing here. I apologize once over again for the drop frames. If the stream necessarily was buffering or skipping on you, whatever like that, I do apologize for that. There's not much I could have done for that. Hopefully that does not do that next time around. Feel free to tune in next time. Hit the follow button to get the notifications when the stream goes live. You can also feel free to get on the Discord as for the streams go live. I'm also on the tweeters. If I can learn how to type. So yeah, I'm also on the tweeters, and you can also feel free to check out www.splinedesigns.com and hit the little Facebook icon that's on there, and that'll take you to the Facebook group page. We kind of use that as our forums, but I'll also put out here the direct link that gets to that Facebook group page. But do necessarily feel free, I guess, to go check out the Spline Designs website. We're still trying to add content to that as we develop certain things, is what I've been working on with this track build and so on. There's a lot of information on that. In fact, I'll kind of go over that real briefly once again for those that are still new to lurking in the chat. One of the things that I did show at the very beginning of the stream was on the Spline Design Studio. We have this other information tab, and if you click on that, it gives you a bunch of information that's related to the NASCAR Racing 2003 simulation that we have been creating this track for primarily. And feel free to check that out. It has lots of information about Project Wildfire, the now defunct Project Wildfire, and the mods to include the patch that you need, I guess, to get those loaded, and any other mod for that matter. But also information about Sandbox, to include links to much needed information for applying safer barrier, as well as the YouTube channel where you can get all the clips for anything that's related to builds in the Sandbox and in our 2003 Sandbox itself. There's plenty of clips on here to be able to peruse that'll help you out if you're into wanting to indulge in this type of work. And there will be more content added to these pages as we see fit. If you find if you have any opinions or what have you as far as what other types of information you'd like to see on this page, feel free to let us know. Chime it in, I guess, on our Facebook group page, on the on DM me, I guess, on the Discord, or just chat it up, I guess, in the lounge on the Discord that I just provided there, if you so choose. I look forward to hearing from all you again and seeing you next time. I guess that's about really all I got to say. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.